Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream, this time out of Game Week 16, and it's slightly later than usual since the deadline is at 1:30 PM UK time, but I'll be here slightly early, delving into your questions. I've still got flag players like Veltman and Gabriel, and I've got some more injury updates on the Brazilian, and we can also discuss the best defenders to buy, and many other topics like the best captain for Game Week 16, which is going to be a huge topic. Do you go for Cole Palmer against the Brentford side that leaks so many opportunities? Do you go for Mohamed Salah, who has the most double-digit returns and FPL points so far this season, but facing a stern Fulham defence, who are going to be without Calvin Bassey, who is suspended, and Joachim Andersen is still injured? So do you still go for Liverpool and Salah, and maybe Bukayo Saka, who got a brace and an assist in the Champions League in a 3-0 victory over Monaco in midweek? We have so many different options, even Isak up front, Erling Haaland against Man United, both teams really struggling this season, especially in the last couple of weeks. There is so much to talk about. Let's get straight into your questions. Drop a like if you enjoy my content, and also subscribe to the channel. It costs nothing and really goes a long way to supporting FPL Dylan. So let's get straight into the first question that I see anyway, and that's going to be by James123, and he says, "Hello Dylan, hope you're well. Who to start out of Enzo or Semenyo?" That's actually quite a difficult one this week. Based on form, you'd definitely go for Enzo Fernandez, but I'm still going to have a slight preference for Semenyo with that West Ham fixture. So that's where my head would be at the moment. ZX Trenix says, "Hello Dylan, bench 2 from Welbeck, Concert, Van Heck, Fernandez and Rodgers." Slightly difficult one. I tend to prefer attackers over defenders, but in this case, you might want to reconsider. I'd bench Concert, and it's between Fernandez or Rodgers for me to bench. I would probably bench... I think I'm going to go for Bruno Fernandes here. The thing is, though, he is facing a Man City side that are vulnerable, and Fernandes could do something at the Etihad. It's just he hasn't really done it too much in the last couple of seasons in terms of goals and assists at the Etihad, but maybe someone will correct me there. JP says, "Who will score more points, Ahmad or Enzo, for the next 4 to 6 weeks?" Probably Enzo, based on recent form and also this kind of new position. He's got more license to bomb forward with Caicedo sometimes going to the right-back position. I'm going to have a slight preference there for Enzo Fernandez. Thank you for the super chat, and that does remind me, I'm going to set a super chat goal, which probably won't include this one now, the way YouTube works, but I'm going to go through that in just a second. So, yeah, just a kind of simple goal of reaching 5 super chats. If we are able to do that within the next 2 hours, this deadline stream will go on for even longer beyond the actual deadline, and we can answer additional questions, talk about UCL fantasy and other topics. So thank you to Samir, much appreciated. Let me just get your chat up here for me. Okay, so the question is, Enzo or Ahmad, which one to buy to upgrade defense? In isolation, I think Enzo Fernandez looks like the slightly better FPL option right now. My problem with the Argentine is you also might want to go for Jackson, Palmer, and then Sanchez in goal, or maybe go for Colwill / any Chelsea defender like Cucurella. So going for Enzo Fernandez blocks you of that Chelsea triple up, which is going to be very viable until Game Week 23, essentially, as Chelsea have the best fixtures in that time frame. But if that's not really an issue for you, you don't see yourself going for maybe Jackson or a Chelsea defender / Sanchez, then I think Enzo Fernandez is the one to go for. But be very mindful about that Chelsea triple up, because you might find yourself thinking Enzo Fernandez has blocked that route to Sanchez, Palmer and Jackson, which for me is the best Chelsea triple up. So let me know what you think about that. Amad Diallo is still a fine choice. I just think his minutes are going to be all over the place. Gavardio to Anderson, Joao Pedro to Isak, would you do it? Well, Joachim Andersen, yeah, once he's available, very good price point at 4.2 million, and Fulham have good fixtures long term. The thing is, selling any of these strikers like Joao Pedro, Cunha this week could definitely backfire. And whilst I do prefer Isak, don't get me wrong, there is a big difference in price, and he does face a Leicester side with the new manager bounce of Ruud van Nistelrooy. So there's a few uncertainties there, and Newcastle, a bit like Brighton, have really struggled against the kind of newly promoted clubs or those teams you'd expect them to beat. So I would be a bit careful about that. Overall, I'd lean towards yes. Just bear in mind as well that Gavardio is still producing some very decent numbers. I know he's probably going to play at centre-back again in the Manchester derby, but once the likes of Akanji, Ake and Stones are back, Gavardio will go back to the left. He's going to bomb forward, create a lot of chances, get some goals, and be one of the highest scoring defenders in FPL, despite Man City's problems. Who to captain? Haaland, Salah, Palmer. I have all three. My slight preference at the moment is Salah, but Palmer is a great choice. I don't dispute that. RS Bloomer says bench 1, Saliba, Van Hecke, Gomez, 8, Nuri. Interesting one. I definitely wouldn't bench Saliba in this case. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm probably going to bench Van Hecke in this instance. I think Palace could score a goal. Start Semenyo or Rodgers? Semenyo, but I have to admit my patience with him is wearing very thin. Buy Hall or Timber? I'd buy Timber. I think Arsenal defence is a much bigger priority than Newcastle. Timber was on the bench against Monaco but made a cameo, played as the left back this time round, and whenever the likes of Calafiori return and Timber can play on the right, he's going to bomb forward, create chances, get a few goal contributions and play some very good stuff, be in and amongst the bonus points in tight victories for Arsenal. So I think Jurrien Timber's the one. Mbeumo to Enzo? Not really, unless you're going to make an upgrade with that money. I'd keep Mbeumo for now. Start Amadou Wissa and start Borro or Wan-Bissaka. I'd start Borro and I would go for Wissa. Brentford have a great record at Stamford Bridge. I'm not saying they're going to win this time round. In fact, I think Chelsea will probably break this kind of streak. But Brentford, 3 victories out of 3 at Stamford Bridge. That's a really impressive record. So, yeah, I'd go for Wissa. Is Mbeumo to Enzo worth doing for this game week? Not necessarily. Not from my perspective. I just think Mbeumo is still one of the best assets over the course of the season. He has dipped in recent weeks, and I do understand that. And the fixtures are terrible, so it's a nice kind of time to make the switch. But I think Brentford-Chelsea could still be a bit of a surprise. It could be high scoring. I think Brentford will score, and Mbeumo is likely going to be involved in that. He's got a solid record against Chelsea himself, so I'm not in a rush to sell Mbeumo this week, to be fair. Hi Dylan, Isak and Virgil versus Trent and Solanke/Jackson. They're both great duos, to be fair, but I would go for Trent and Jackson. That is my favourite. The only downside is the yellow card suspension risk for the Senegalese striker. FPL Kevy says, morning buddy, how are you? All good, hopefully you are too. Leaning towards Palmer captain. Jackson ruined my weekend with the armband last week. Yeah, I bought him last week. A bit disappointed because, of course, we all knew what he did, or we all know what he did last season with the hat-trick against Tottenham, but it wasn't his night. I think, though, against Brentford, he will have opportunities, and the sea of green on the FDR is still very promising. Of course, to captain him, very frustrating for you, I understand it. And I think that's the problem with Jackson compared to an Isak, because let's say Chelsea have a plum fixture, you'd most likely want to go for Palmer in most cases. There'll be a few times Jackson outscores him, but yeah, I just went for Palmer in that case. I thought Chelsea would score a few goals, and luckily enough, I got the captaincy right on that occasion, but normally, you know me, I sometimes F it up. Newcastle versus Leicester, both teams to score. What do you think? Well, I'm not a betting sort of person, so to speak, but yeah, I think that's a pretty good guess or prediction. I think Leicester could score a goal for sure. And Newcastle, even at St James's Park, can be vulnerable defensively, so yeah, I'd say so. Welcome, Baraf. Andra says who to captain, Haaland, Salah, Palmer. So yeah, I'm not sure if I just covered this from the same person, but right now I'm going for Salah. Would you sell Wissa this week for Wood? Not too sure about that. I think Chris Wood is a slightly better FPL asset this season, but I mean, both Brentford and Forest have terrible fixtures for the next couple of weeks. Then again, if you break it down this week, I mean, Chelsea are a better team than Aston Villa, especially defensively, but at the same time, I think both of them are capable of scoring goals in this particular fixture, and then in the future game weeks, which look tough for the defenders, maybe not so much for the midfielders and forwards. So it's a good question. It's very difficult. I just think you'd keep Wissa for now in this case. Maybe after the Chelsea game, because I've mentioned it before, the record at Stamford Bridge is very impressive from the Bees. So I think it's definitely worth a punt to start a Wissa or Mbeumo this week. That's the way I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but they've been really impressive in those meetings in the last seasons or two. Hi, mate. Start Kudus or Semenyo? Semenyo. Bruno and Van Hecke to Enzo and Trent for a -4. I think Trent alone makes the -4 hit worthwhile. I'm just not as sold on an Enzo Fernandez as other people are. He's a good budget midfielder, and in his current form, he's doing terrifically well. But I also look at that Chelsea triple-up that you might want in the future of Palmer, Jackson, and Sanchez in goal. That is the ideal triple-up you'd go for. Would you sell Aina for Howson or Kirkes? I'd rather go for Kirkes. Hey Dylan, start Dan Burn or 8 Nuri. 8 Nuri. Not much of a difference, though. No problems, Ilko. Okay, hopefully... Enzo surely blanking after all this hype. I think he blanks against Brentford, and I could be wrong about this, but that will be my prediction. That's not to say he can't return in future game weeks, though, with those plum fixtures for Chelsea. Is Haaland to Isak worth it? I'm really bullish on Isak, and I have been for several weeks. I bought him myself, then sold against Liverpool, so a lot of regrets there. I still think Haaland could do well against United, though. That's my problem with making the transfer this week, especially if you're not using those funds to get Salah, Palmer, or Saka in the midfield. Otherwise, it'd be a no-brainer. Yeah, I think it's worth it, but I don't think it's necessary if you're not making an upgrade with the extra funds. Van Dijk or Alisson? Van Dijk. I just think Alisson's too injury-prone for a goalkeeper. To be fair, though, I did buy him in UCL Fantasy. Also, bench Colwill or Burn. I'd bench Colwill. I think Brentford score. Welcome, Michael. Good to see you. Rico Lewis, keep or thoughts on the best sub for no more than his current price, 4.6 million. I'd sell Rico Lewis, and I did discuss this in my Transtits podcast a couple of days ago. He was in the sell section for back-to-back weeks, I believe. He has featured a couple of times recently anyway. So at that price and below, you're looking at Kirkes, Colwill, maybe Lewis Hall. My favourite is Colwill, purely because of the fixtures. I'd keep it simple. This week, I admit Colwill might be the kind of least appealing compared to Lewis Hall and Kirkes, but long-term, I just think Chelsea's fixtures are too good. They'll keep some clean sheets in that time frame. I'd go for Colwill, and that's what I'm looking at for my own team right now. The intro song is actually made by my cousin. I could put a link in the live chat if you do want to hear it. And yeah, pretty much all the intro music you hear, even the outro stuff, it's all from my cousin. Yeah, very kindly, allow me to use his music. Best defender under 4.5 million. Under 4.5. Yeah, I mean, this one is a bit more difficult. You might be looking at Howson in this case from Bournemouth. That could be a decent punt. I'll try to get some other names for you, though, because I think there might be a few escaping my mind. And a few of them, yeah, Lewis Hall, for example, was 4.4 until very recently. He is now 4.5. Yeah, I'd probably stick with that answer. You might want to take a punt on Lisandro Martinez, but United can be so up and down, and you certainly wouldn't buy this week against Man City. Dan Burn, maybe, could be decent. Yeah, I wouldn't overcomplicate this too much. I'd go for Howson from Bournemouth. So we've got quite a few people in the building. Obviously not like the UCL Fantasy streams, which is a different story, but if you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. We've answered dozens of questions up until this point, and we're going to answer dozens more by the deadline stream. So just keep on plucking away with the questions, keep it respectful. Just understand that any repeat questions may be skipped, but we're going to cover everything you need to know for Gameweek 16 and beyond. It looks like Ortega is City's #1 right now, but don't be surprised if it kind of gets reversed very soon. So it's kind of like a situation you probably want to avoid, especially with Man City's defensive woes. So Ortega isn't really worth investment anyway. So Gabriel trained yesterday. I'm going to go through that now. It has been a little while since I've obviously showed you the FDR and stuff, almost a week. So let's go to the fixture difficulty rating. Newcastle are top until Gameweek 21. Man City, Wolves, Chelsea and Arsenal complete the top 5 with Liverpool just behind. Everton, Leicester, Brentford, West Ham and Ipswich Town are in the bottom 5 according to Fantasy Football Hub. And if we look at the predicted points for Gameweek 16, Palmer is top with 8.1. Salah, Haaland and Isak complete the top 4, and I agree with that ranking. But I also think Saka, who is in 5th, he might arguably be even higher. He's got a good record against Everton. Cunha, Son, Jackson, Wood and Solanke finish the top 10. And in terms of predicted prices, this might be from yesterday actually, I need to refresh this. So Isak, Enzo Fernandez, Saliba, Palmer, Kirkes, Virgil van Dijk, Salah, Trent, Saka and Colwill could all rise tonight. The same goes for Cucurella, Cunha, Murillo, Milenkovic, Munoz, Joao Pedro and Verbruggen. As for price falls, that would include O'Brien, so just a budget midfielder, Gvardiol, Watkins, Gabriel, Imbumo, Savio, Welbeck, Gruda, Also Dallo and anyone else, probably a few, wow, a lot more. Dewsbury Hall, Franca again, Pedro Lima, Matthews, Ricardo Pereira, Fabio Carvalho, Iverson, also House, Fraser, House of Fraser. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That is all of the projected price falls. This could probably change, so keep your eyes peeled for live fpl.net closer to when the actual price changes happen, which is roughly 1:30 a.m. UK time. I don't suggest staying up and going to the website at that stage though, but you could do it if you wish. As for Drafthound, and this is without making any transfers up until this point, they recommend Gabriel to Saliba, and they also are quite bullish on Enzo Fernandez, so they recommend selling either Semenyo or Mbumo to the Argentine. And another transfer, which looks quite good actually, is Mikolenko to Hausen. So as discussed in my team selection video a couple of days ago, my current plan is to either sell Mikolenko or Veltman to Colwill. And it's not a great move for this week, but it's a long-term play with Chelsea's fixtures, and it bolsters my defensive line, especially if Gabriel is still out injured. Veltman is 50-50, but there's no guarantee that he starts, of course. So I put a few polls out on my channel, which includes the captaincy. So if you are still undecided, this could help you with over 1,000 votes. Salah is top with 44%, Palmer narrowly behind with 40%, and then Saka in third and Isak in fourth. But a lot of alternatives suggested in the comments section. But yeah, I think Isak is going to be a very popular one in terms of those looking to go different. Maybe Erling Haaland, don't forget him. He's still a decent choice, and there are many more where that came from. Another poll I put out is regarding Gabriel Magalhaes, who obviously didn't feature against Monaco. He wasn't in the squad, but 68% of you are willing to hold him, and that was, what, back on the Wednesday that I put this poll out, I think. Then, in terms of my final poll, and this is in relation to my transfer plans, one of these defenders will be sold to bolster my defensive line, and I'll likely go for Colwill in this instance. Veltman is the kind of likely sacrifice in your eyes with 43% of the vote. Gabriel in second and Mikolenko third. I'm quite surprised by that. It actually might be the Ukrainian who ends up making way. I know he's the cheapest and he got me 11 points last time out, but at the same time, Everton's fixtures are dire. Not just for the next 3 game weeks, but even beyond that. I just don't see many clean sheets for the Toffees, but they can surprise you at times. Also, a big shout out to Nia Reacts. Make sure to check out this channel, especially if you're interested in Marvel and DC content, also Disney. And right now he is covering Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, all of that stuff. So check out Nia Reacts. It's a great channel. Help him push on towards new goals like 1,000 subscribers. He certainly deserves it and much more. So check out Nia Reacts. I'm going to put a link in the live chat right now to make it even simpler to follow him. And in terms of Arsenal news and stuff like that people were asking me about, Gabriel completed full first-team training for Arsenal. That was on Friday morning, and he's expected to return against Everton. Will he start? I think he does, but it isn't a guarantee. We might get a leak before the deadline, so keep your eyes peeled for this situation. Gabriel, I definitely need him back because I went down to 9 men essentially last week, and somehow I still pulled off a green arrow. Let's do a stats comparison of some of the best assets in FPL, and I've done this quite a lot in recent weeks. Salah versus Palmer, and Salah is leading in most of these metrics, but it is quite close in a few of them. I mean, 20 big chances to 15, these are ridiculous numbers. Palmer does lead in creativity though, 14 more key passes, 5 more big chances created, and that's only really bettered by the likes of Bukayo Saka. Even more shots for Palmer as well, and shots on target is identical, but Salah has more goals and more assists, more double-digit hauls, fewer blanks, more FPL points. He is the kind of reliable and safe captain. If he continues this form, he's going to break his own record of the most FPL points scored in a single season. But we could see a drop-off after Christmas, as we have done in the last 2 years. But right now, with the current form, when the iron is hot, go for Mohamed Salah, it seems, is a very plausible and sensible strategy. But I certainly don't mind Palmer, Saka and Isak for the captaincy this week. And just a sneak preview of Gameweek 17 before I go back to your questions. So if I buy Colwill, which is very likely for me, and let's say Mikolenko is the sacrifice, this would be my provisional Gameweek 17 squad with Raya in goal, and also Gabriel, assuming he's fit, facing Crystal Palace away. And in fact, this would only be days after they face each other in the Carabao Cup, but at the Emirates Stadium on that occasion. So Colwill away to Everton, which has been a bit of a bogey ground for Chelsea over the last couple of years. Ait Nouri facing Leicester away, and afterwards I would be looking to sell. And who knows, he might even get suspended for Game Week 17, so I might need to make another defender transfer, not just this week, but also before Game Week 17. Saka, Palmer, Mbeumo and Salah looks quite solid actually, and I'm happy to keep Mbeumo for the time being, but I do recognise the fixtures are definitely still poor, and you could sell him or any Brentford assets and not have too many regrets. Cunha, Jackson and Joao Pedro are in the front three. That speaks for itself, and I am looking at buying Isak back in the next couple of weeks, but that would require downgrades elsewhere. Maybe Mbeumo would be the sacrifice to make that happen. On the bench, Valdimarsson, Semenyo, Veltman and Van den Berg. I think I've got bigger benching headaches and team selection dilemmas this week in terms of Semenyo versus Mbeumo and a few other things here and there, especially if I sign Colwill. But yeah, I think for next week, it would look quite simple on paper, even with my provisional transfer of Levi Colwill. But let's go back to my FPL team, and later on, I'll show you my predictions. That'll be after the deadline has gone. And actually, I have forgotten it. I should also show you FPL Challenge. Let's do that very quickly. So I'm going to open up FPL Challenge here, just for those of you that are interested. So just give me a second. I'm going to get that up for you. And then I'll go back to my FPL team for good, I promise. So let's go to this. Yeah, I made this squad a few days ago, and there could be some changes, but I've gone for Raya, Borro, Robertson, and Timber, with Son, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Isak, Welbeck, and Strand Larsen. So this week, the challenge is called Bargains. So players costing under 6 million earn double points. So that is my current team. I didn't do... Well, actually, yeah, I did okay last week, but I actually forgot to change Gabriel, I believe. So that's something I forgot to do, but still pretty decent. I did captain Haaland instead of Cole Palmer there, and of course the rest is history, but it's not terrible. Definitely the week before that was even worse for me in FPL Challenge, and I'll go back to this later on after the deadline has passed. But let's now go back to the FPL team, the main focus, with two flag players in my starting 11 in Gabriel and Veltman. I do believe Gabriel will play, and I have a sneaky feeling we'll get an update before the deadline passes, since it's a 3 PM kickoff for Arsenal against Everton, and the deadline is at 1:30 in the UK. So let's get straight back into your questions and comments. Hopefully I haven't missed any super chats. That's all good. Yeah, we're all good on that front. Let's now go to some of the recent comments here. Why are teams going for Palmer captain over Salah? Most of his returns last few gimmicks were pens. Yeah, that's a good point. And I do think Palmer relies a lot on penalties against the big sides, or at least the top 6 clubs in the country. I think that's a good point. But Palmer has a lot of double-digit hauls and a lot of returns at Stamford Bridge. In fact, in terms of Chelsea's goals, Palmer is heavily involved at Stamford Bridge in terms of everything Chelsea do. I think there are merits in terms of captaining him. Brentford are a weak opposition defensively, and they will concede chances. But yeah, for me, Salah facing a Fulham side without Bassi and Anderson, and also that was a high-scoring thriller last season. I think it could be something similar. I am backing Liverpool to win around 3-1, and I think Salah will be heavily involved. I just think Liverpool need to do everything possible to keep Salah fit, because if he goes, yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle to replace him. Yeah, I think Gabriel starts. I just said that, but obviously let's see if the chat agree with me. I really like to give you advices, but I don't fancy... Oh, I really like to... Yeah, look, Colwell's not a great FPL asset. It's just having a cheap defender with great fixtures long term. It's not like I back Colwell to score goals, get bonus points. I agree with you on that. You know, he's averaging 2.4 points per game. It's not a great FPL asset, but I mean, compare that to Veltman, who has just disappeared off the face of the earth since I signed him. Gabriel's flagged, and I've got Mikolenko with terrible fixtures, and Van den Berg's useless, even when he does have good games on paper. So I just see Colwell as an upgrade on all of them, bar Gabriel. Would you prioritise Trent or Isak after downgrading Bruno? That's a good question, to be fair. I'd rather prioritise Isak at this moment in time. Morning, tough for me this week. Iwobi, Aina, Murillo or Watkins, thanks for your time. All tough fixtures. My main issue with Watkins is, will he start or not? Because he had a small injury problem against Leipzig. He was subbed up for half-time. Duran came on, scored, and I could see Duran starting this weekend. So I'd rather sell Watkins if you can. Maybe go to an Isak or Jackson, be really aggressive, and I think that's probably the way to go. But in terms of like who to start this week, I mean, I'd try to keep Iwobi as far as possible from your starting 11. I just don't see him doing anything against Liverpool. Yeah, so I think Iwobi to bench, and if you could make a change, I'd sell Watkins to Isak or Jackson. Thank you, Rania, for the super chat. Hi, Dylan. Would you do Bruno out this game week if it allows you to get Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea defenders? Who are your top long-term defenders in order? Yeah, Fernandes is still decent, but I'd rather go for these defenders you're talking about. The way I'd rank them, so if Gabriel's fit, he'd be number one for me. Then I'd say Trent in second. I just think his more hefty price tag puts him a little bit lower down, but Liverpool have the best defence up until this point of the season. So Gabriel, Trent, I'd probably say Van Dijk in third, Timber fourth, and then probably Colwill in fifth, just because of the fixtures. I think on paper, if you're just comparing, who's the better FPL asset overall, I think all of the defenders I just mentioned, and then, Calafiori when he's fit, Saliba, they're all better than Colwill. And that goes without saying. So yeah, maybe Saliba's in fifth actually, then Colwill will be sixth. That's kind of my ranking. I don't think it's worth going into too many more options than that. I certainly wouldn't go for Robertson, especially when Tsimikas returns. Hi Dylan, hope you had a great weekend. Likewise, Nick. Well, I hope you have. Easy99 already transfer Enzo to replace Lewis Cook. Enzo stats couple of weeks, impressive. Yeah, he has been impressive. I personally think he blanks against Brentford, and I wouldn't want to go for Enzo Fernandez if you're still looking for Jackson, Palmer, and a Chelsea defensive coverage. It blocks you off from that triple up, and that is my preference there. Dean to Trent easy? Yeah, I think so. Why not Cunha captaincy? Well, for one, Wolves are very inconsistent, and Cunha has actually blanked a lot recently, 3 times in a row. I still think Cunha is capable of getting, a return from anywhere, from outside the box. He's got that moment of magic in him. He's a quality player. But, yeah, when you're comparing Cunha to Palmer, Salah, and Saka, yeah, I don't think there's any debate. Those 3 are far more reliable. They play in better teams, and it's much more likely you'll get returns from those players. Don't get me wrong, though. I like Cunha. He's been a good signing for me. But I wouldn't be that bullish on the captaincy, necessarily. Think we get early team news? Not sure about all the 3 p.m. matches, probably not. But on Gabriel, I think we'll get an update, and that's kind of the hope there. Salah or Saka captain? Salah for me. I mean, you can see it on screen. I'm going for Salah. Mbuma to Kluivert and Jackson to Isak for a -4. Yeah, good transfers, but I'm not sure if you should sell Jackson for a -4. You know what? As much as I like Isak, I'm going to say no. And Kluivert was actually a skip for me very recently. The only reason I do that move and sell Mbuma is to fund other transfers, which I'm guessing is the case here with Isak, but I just don't think it's worth a -4. There is exactly 1 upset on Saturday and Sunday each in Premier League. What do you think would be today's upset? All right, let's go through the predictions. I'm not going to say all my predictions now, but let's pick it out. Okay, if there was to be an upset today, I just don't see Liverpool dropping points. I think it's going to be in the Leicester-Newcastle game. I think we could see Leicester getting a draw, or maybe something even more shocking. So yeah, I think Newcastle-Leicester will be the shock of the Saturday. And tomorrow, probably Man United getting a result against Man City. I'm not trying to be rude, but I think Brentford getting a result against Chelsea might be surprising to people this season, but Brentford have a great record at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, it's probably Man United getting a result at the Etihad. Southampton Spurs, I mean, never write off Spurs to do, very weird things. But yeah, I'm going to say the Manchester Derby tomorrow, and today, Newcastle Leicester. If you have a different opinion, be sure to let me know. Okay, so yeah, let's keep on plugging away the likes. To start off with, let's get to 100 and then push on towards 200 plus. That will be the aim, as we're streaming for a few hours actually. Van Dijk to Trent for a -4? No. I just wouldn't do it for a hit. Ahmad and Jackson or Enzo and Isak already have Palmer and Colwill. Enzo and Isak. Both good duos though. Hey Dylan, Hall or Matoma to start, already starting Joao Pedro. I'd rather start Lewis Hall this week, but Newcastle aren't reliable defensively. I'll try to show you a free hit team later, mate, but I can't guarantee it because I'm still going through questions and there's other stuff to cover. With 2 free transfers, which midfielder and defender are worth buying? Well, I'm not sure who you have already, which makes this question a bit vague and difficult to answer. But apart from the obvious Salahs, Sakas, and Palmers of the world, In the midfield, it's kind of an awkward one because I don't see many standouts right now to invest in. I think it will chop and change over the coming weeks. I wouldn't necessarily buy Bowen now, but I would have 2 or 3 weeks ago, which I discussed on this channel. So that's a difficult one. Defenders, I'd certainly be looking at, Gabriel, Saliba, or Timber, at least one of those Arsenal defenders, then Trent or Van Dijk for Liverpool, and you might even want to go for Joe Gomez for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And of course, Levi Colwill, just for the fixtures. But yeah, midfield is a bit difficult to answer, I think, without knowing the context of your team, who you have already. I really have faith in Bruno, but should I drop him to enable either Jackson or Isak? Yes, I would. And who do you go to? I still think it's a difficult one because, a few weeks ago, Matoma looked really appealing. Semenyo, but he just hasn't really got going. I've never been a big fan of Kluivert. He's okay at that price. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Iwobi might be a good option, but do you invest in him now against Liverpool? I'd say no. So that's a difficult choice. But if you aren't looking to triple up on Chelsea with Jackson, Palmer, and Sanchez in goal, or whichever defender, maybe Enzo Fernandez is the answer for you. First time I transfer players that early. Next one will be before Christmas. I will come back to my hometown. They will not have internet connection there. Any early suggestions? Yeah, I get that. As long as you can get your team in order and no injuries happen out of the blue or suspensions, you should be good to go. Yeah, but early suggestions, I'm not sure. I don't know who you have in your team, so it's very difficult for me to say who you should transfer in early. And that's something I tend to not recommend, whenever possible, of course. In your case, it might be different. But yeah, I don't know your team, so very difficult for me to say. Bench 1, Rodgers, Enzo, Cunha, Jackson, Joao Pedro. This week, I'd probably bench Enzo Fernandez, personally. I recognize a lot of people would say Rodgers, but Enzo for me. Gavardio, Trent 8, Nuri, Timber, bench 1. Probably Gavardio. I think he's the least likely to get a clean sheet. I think there was a question about the mystery chip. It's just there's so many questions coming in. But yeah, obviously I didn't cover the assistant manager chip in my recent videos because they were recorded before the announcement. But I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm not going to discount that just yet. I think it's a very powerful tool if it's used correctly. I really believe that. And it requires a lot of planning. I mean, do you kind of take the risk and go for a club/manager who is kind of low down in the table so you can get those extra points for beating a team that are 5 league positions or higher, then that team, that could be an option. But at the moment, the way I'm looking at it, I'm probably looking at a Liverpool or Arsenal, to kind of invest in. But you can make transfers with the assistant manager chip, and it actually counts with your overall transfers and stuff and your budget. So it's going to be very interesting from Gameweek 24 onwards. And I'll try to cover it in more detail if, of course, people want to see it. But I think it's probably worth mentioning closer to the time. It's always good to have a good idea in advance, though, that's for sure. One option just for this week, Isak. I mean, I'm not going to say Salah, Palmer, and all that stuff because they're kind of obvious. Thank you, Richard Milichip, for becoming a differential. That's massively appreciated. Always keep your eyes peeled for early access to my content. The same goes for all the other perks. You get early access, you get priority reply to comments, and all of the perks are actually listed in the description of every single one of my videos and live streams. Dylan, sell Haaland for Isak for free. I was asked this before. I don't mind Isak at all. In fact, he's probably my favourite forward at the moment, but do you need to sell Haaland this week? That's the way I look at it. I mean, are you buying Trent with that money? Are you getting Palmer, Salah, or Saka? Otherwise, I don't think it's a necessary move, so to speak. Pedro or Isak? Isak. Solanke to Isak? Yes. The timing is a little bit because Solanke's facing Southampton, but I'm not completely against it. Bench boost with a bench of Fabianski, Semenyo, Aitnuri, and Kirkes. It's a solid team, but you've got 3 players from the same match. You've got Fabianski, and then obviously Semenyo. That's a bit of a clash there. I mean, look, it's probably going to get a decent number of points. I don't mind bench boosting it, but I still think you could get an even stronger bench in the future. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Back your gut on this one, but I'd probably say no. Start any free Gabriel, Hall, Kirkes, Greaves, and Aina. I think you just start the first 3. Bench, Greaves, and Aina. Should I use my wildcard now? very subjective question, very, team dependent. It's difficult for me to say this, to be fair. I've always said, all these kind of even game weeks before the second wildcard comes into play. So I've been saying game week 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. They're all good times on paper to activate the chip because of fixtures, the timing, and the way things kind of turn around. But yeah, I think it's a good time to do it if you haven't done it already. But I don't know your team, how many transfers you're making. There's a lot of things that are omitted in that kind of question. Isak or Jackson long term? Slight preference for Jackson, just because of the fixtures. And I also think Chelsea are more reliable than Newcastle. That's kind of proven in the Premier League table. Start 2. Mbeumo and Chris Wood. I'd bench Semenyo. What if I use the lowest ranked manager, then he gets fired next game week? I'm sure it would transfer to the new manager of the same team, but you can make transfers with the with your assistant manager / manager of a Premier League club. Bruno or Semenyo to start? Semenyo. Bench 1, Rodgers or Aina. They are facing each other. I mean, I normally favour attackers. I'm going to go for Rodgers here, actually. I'm going to stick with Rodgers. Out of those two, I'd start Mbeumo, Ahmed. Start any free. Yeah, I covered that, mate. I covered it. What's your opinion about selling Mbeumo and Lewis to Enzo and Trent? Yeah, look, that's a huge upgrade on Lewis. No problems with that. Mbeumo to Enzo makes it happen. So, yeah, good transfers overall. I do think this week, though, Mbeumo might surprise you. I do think he's a better asset than Enzo. That's quite clear. But there is a big difference in price. And as a duo, I think Enzo and Trent is stronger. So, yeah, makes sense. Start one from Rodgers, Smith-Rowe, and Raul. I would not start Raul Jimenez this week. I just don't see him scoring against Liverpool. Probably Rodgers for me. Bench 2, please. Hall, Aït-Nouri, Van Hecke, Kerkez, play Strand Larsen or João Pedro. I'd play João Pedro and I would bench... I'd bench Van Hecke. You know what? I'd probably bench Lewis Hall from those lot as well. Captain Salah or Palmer? Well, Salah for me. You can see it on screen. Bruno or Semenyo to start? That's been covered. I'm going to try not to go through these repeat questions. Hi, Dylan. Who should I start? Wood, João Pedro, Semenyo. João Pedro and Chris Wood. Ezequiel Escobar says, Hola Dylan, acá en la madrugada de Bolivia. Quisiera saber tu opinión si crees que si FPL debería tener puntos por pelotas robadas como UCL para darle más valor a defensas, por ejemplo. Estoy totalmente de acuerdo. Para mí, ball recoveries, o como decís vos, pelotas robadas, es algo muy bueno. Y, por ejemplo, si estás mirando o si quieres comprar un jugador de Liverpool, Van Dijk o Trent, casi todos van a ir por Trent porque tiene asistencias y también hace tiro libre y todo eso, pero con pelotas robadas también puedes ir por Van Dijk en ese caso, así que me gusta mucho. No creo que va a pasar en FPL, por lo menos en el próximo año o dos, pero sí, para mí estoy totalmente de acuerdo. Ya lo dije hace mucho tiempo también, que me gustaría si lo vemos eso en FPL, sería muy bueno. Should I sell Sanchez, and if yes, for who? Why would you sell Robert Sanchez? I just don't think it makes any sense. Bench 1, Mbeumo, Bowen, Larsen, Evanilson or Wood. Best captain this week. Thorson, Anthony Gordon as a captain? No. Gordon last season was captainable. I just don't think he is this season. A lot of his returns seem to be against like the better clubs in the country, like Arsenal, Man City. Not a big fan of Anthony Gordon as a captain. If anything, I'd probably skip him in general. That's the way I look at him right now. As for who to bench from those players you mentioned, difficult this week, very difficult. But in this case, you might look at Mbeumo to bench, if not Jared Bowen. One second, let me just deal with some stuff. All right, thank you, Aranya. Massively appreciate it. I'm just going to go into your question now. So yeah, thank you very much. I've got Hall and Raya. Pick between the two plans, both for -4. So keep Bruno, do Rodgers out, and get 2 best defenders for 9.9 million total. Or keep Rodgers, do Bruno out, and get 2 best defenders for 30 million total. Yeah, it'd be the second option. So keep Rodgers and sell Bruno. I've covered Rodgers a lot, actually, in my recent wildcard videos. It's not like I back him so much, but he still offers good value at that price point. And look, Bruno is still a good option, but you have to bear in mind the prices and what you can do with the extra funds. So with 13 million total, the best two defenders, Gabriel and Van Dijk, and you still have a few, you've got still a little bit in the bank. I'm not sure how much Gabriel costs right now. Is he 6.2? So if that's the case, you've got 0.4 million left over with those two defenders. I think that's completely fine. Of course, you might even argue Trent. You could also do Trent and Timber. That also works very well for you. Yeah, that's a close one, actually. I'd be slightly tempted to do Trent and Timber, but they're both really, really close. I have to say, those are the kind of favourite duos I've got. But ultimately, with your question, I've got no doubts about that. I'd keep Rodgers and sell Bruno and have more money to invest in your defensive line. Hey Dylan, free transfers. I'm thinking it's time to dump the malfunctioning robot. Yeah, Alan Matoma to Isak Palmer with 2 free transfers, but unsure over 8 Nuri to Van Dijk for free, or 8 Nuri Mbumo to Trent and Johnson for a -4. That gets very interesting, actually. Now, Johnson started against Rangers the other day, which isn't ideal, but look, this Thursday to Sunday kind of thing that people talk about, it's the same as Wednesday to Saturday in terms of recovery and stuff, right? It's more psychological, I think, sometimes, but I'd actually be tempted by the -4. I really would be. I think that works really well long term. Now, Mbumo versus Johnson for a hit, could backfire slightly in Game Week 16, but long term, I'd rather have Johnson than Mbumo. So I'd actually take the plunge, and the -4 hit looks really good to me. And the 2 free transfers of buying Isak and Palmer are fantastic. It's a good use of your money in terms of selling Haaland and redistributing them across all positions. So overall, I'd do them. I think I'd take the -4 hit, but I don't think the 8 Nuri to Van Dijk transfer for free is necessarily bad. That's also really solid, actually. Wood or Isak? Isak for me this week. Should I take a -8 to get Saka, Vardy, 8 Nuri? Who are you selling, though? And Jamie Vardy, I talked about recently, he's a hold in some cases, but you wouldn't necessarily buy him now with Leicester's fixtures. And 8 Nuri, I don't think he's an investment. I think if you got 8 Nuri, you hold until Game Week 18, then reassess. He might even be a sell by that point, but I think there's a few reasons why you shouldn't buy 8 Nuri. For one, Wolves are terrible defensively. 2, the fixtures turn in Game Week 18. And number 3, one more yellow before Game Week 19, and 8 Nuri is suspended. I think those 3 reasons are more than enough to avoid him. -4 Lewis 2. Apart from the obvious Gabriels, Timbers, Salibas, Trents, and Van Dijks of the world, maybe Levi Colwill at a similar price. Not a big fan of a -4 hit for, for that sort of thing. Off topic, but there's Fortnite promo spam in your Discord, UCL, and Euro Fantasy channels. Well, I appreciate that. I haven't checked Fortnite. I haven't checked the Discord server last night, so I'll have a look at that. Maybe I'll do it now. Obviously not ideal, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. I was going to log into Discord after the stream was done anyway, but that might have saved a bit of time. Not sure what's happening there then. Let's see if I can deal with it quickly. Wow. Yeah, thank you for that. Let's see. I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to some of these Discord things, so let's see if I can just... Yeah, this will be like my first BAM, I think. All right. Well, I think he's been sorted out. And now just time to report the message and all that stuff. Thank you for that. And apologies for those that are waiting to have things answered. Be sure to join the Discord server, by the way. We never get these kind of spammings and stuff. That is, very rare. And don't join it and spam, please. But, yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, that should be done. All right, that's all been sorted. Thank you very much, mate, Chase. That's massively appreciated. So, yeah, let's now go back to your questions. Let's get back to your questions. And we've still got a lot of time, by the way. We've still got just under 2 hours, actually. So, yeah, we have been streaming for a while already with a very early stream today. But keep them coming. Priority sell, Lewis or Mikalenko? Still Mikalenko for me because Everton's fixtures are terrible. Joao Pedro or Rodgers? Joao Pedro. Hey Dylan, not sure whether to captain Salah over Palmer. It's a close debate, I think, but I'm going for Salah. Plays in a more reliable team. Salah's more consistent, fewer blanks, more double-digit hauls. Fulham are without Calvin Bassey, who's suspended. Joachim Andersen's injured. I think Fulham will concede 3 or 4 against Liverpool, so yeah, I'm going for Salah. And also, when you look at Brentford-Chelsea in recent seasons, Brentford have got a great record at Stamford Bridge. 3 wins out of 3. Should I start Dalot or Konsa? Konsa. I wouldn't start a United defender against City. Let's see what else we got. What's a good differential this week? Captaining Isak would be one. Captaining Saka. I'd also... Let's see, another differential you could do. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I do like the differential sort of things, when I'm asked, what can I do to be different and stand out from the rest of the crowd? That's absolutely fine. I think some people will be looking to bench Chris Wood this week. Do not do that against Aston Villa. I'd be looking to start him. Maybe not captain, but I think he's certainly worthwhile in your starting 11. Other differentials. Let me have a quick look now and see what I can come up with. Because I think there might be something even better to recommend. I think buying a Brennan Johnson this week, I think that could definitely work for you against Southampton. I think De Bruyne against United, I'd also back him quite a bit. Yeah, I think that's a few good ideas in the midfield. Let's see what else we could do in the forward line. I think starting Wisser and Mbeumo, which I said before as well. It's a difficult fixture on paper. Chelsea are the better team. They're sitting in second right now, but I think Brentford could give them a lot of problems, and they have done in the last couple of years. So all of those things would be kind of small incremental, differentials and, small things you'll do that separate you from the rest of the crowd. So let me know what you think. How can you captain on the phone? Well, on the FPL app, if you go to pick team and you go on the player you want to captain, you just click on him and it'll have an option saying make captain, and you click on it and there'll be a tick. I'm fairly sure that's how it works. I mainly do stuff on the browser because obviously I'm doing FPL content here, but yeah, that should work, I think. Already playing Gabriel, Aït-Nouri and Hall. Should I transfer in a Liverpool defender or can I wait? That's a good question. I mean, normally I'd say you can wait, but because Gabriel is still yellow flagged and he might not start, I think it's definitely a viable to buy a Liverpool defender. So I think Gabriel starts. So I think you could wait, but it is still risky. And if you have no good 4th or 5th defender to come on as a backup, that could be slightly concerning, especially if it's Van den Berg, who is terrible. So I'm going to chance it and say it's fine. Wait a little bit longer to invest in Trent, Van Dijk or Gomez, and I wouldn't recommend Robertson. Haaland and Dibbling for Isak and Saka -4? Yes. Start Onana or Fabianski? Fabianski. I think both concede, but I think City could batter Man United. -4 to sell Haaland to get Palmer or Saka. I'm just wondering who you're buying up front. So if it's Isak or Jackson, then yes, I'd go for the -4 hit. Bench Gordon, Kudus or Wisser? I'd bench Kudus from those 3, actually. Yeah. Bench 1, Semenyo or Enzo? I'd bench Enzo Fernandez this week. Garnacho or Rodgers to start? Rodgers. Thoughts on Liverpool defenders aside from Trent and Van Dijk? Joe Gomez for me will be the best one, but it's a short-term punt whilst Konate is out. I just think when Tsimikas returns, we're going to see too much rotation in the left-back area, so I would want to avoid Robertson. So the way I'd rank it is Trent first, Van Dijk second, Gomez third, Robertson fourth right now. And when Konate is back, he's probably the second or third best option, but his injury record always makes him a slight problem. Yeah, Dahan, I'm not sure what you're doing, mate. You're spamming the chat, and I did answer your question. I highlighted it. I don't know what else I can really say to answer your question, so yeah. Hi Dylan, hope you're doing well. Should I do Fleck into another keeper, or should I do Aït-Nouri / Akoli to a high-priced defender like Van Dijk or Trent? I wouldn't sell Aït-Nouri just yet. I think he's worth starting for the next 2 game weeks, especially, obviously, against Ipswich Town. I'd rather sell Akoli, and Trent would be the preference. Start Rodgers or Johnson? Brennan Johnson. Benguino says, hi mate, which 3 would you play out of Aït-Nouri, Gabriel, Hall, Colwill, Semenyo and Mitoma? Gabriel, Aït-Nouri, and Semenyo. Not a big fan of Semenyo, by the way, but yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it, Wiley, but unfortunately, yeah, we're going to get that. Femi says, Lewis, Mbeumo, Wissa out for Kirkez, Enzo, and Isak. I already have Palmer and Jackson for free transfers, or just make the Kirkez move and roll 2 transfers. Now, I see what you're doing, and buying Isak looks really good this week. As much as I've been bullish on Wissa and Mbeumo, it seems, in this stream, I'd probably go for it and make all 3 moves. Isak or Jackson long term, as covered earlier, slight preference for Jackson. Play Greaves or Mazraoui. I have Gvardiol or a -4. I'd just play Jacob Greaves. Greaves, Dean, Rodgers, Rashford. 2 bench, 2 start. I mean, Rashford's got a good record against City and all Big Six opposition. I would go for Rodgers and Rashford, actually. Play Mbeumo or Rodgers. Mbeumo. Bench 1, Gomez, Timber, Nuri. I'd bench Gomez. Bench 1, Semenyo or Enzo. Yeah, I'd bench Enzo. Best captaincy options, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Haaland, Isak is my top 5. Start Wissa or Rodgers. I'd start Wissa. Hi Dylan, should I start Bowen or Semenyo? Semenyo. But Bowen is a better FPL asset. I just think in this game, Bournemouth have the edge. I think they'll get the win. Thank you, Aranya, once again. Massively appreciated. Tempted to keep Bruno over Rodgers since he's almost twice as many points as Rodgers over the last 6 game weeks. In that case, are Gomez and Colwill good options? Yeah, they are good options. It's just they're not going to get anywhere near as many points as Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Trent, and Van Dijk, in my opinion. But it's all relative, right? Because with those, the difference in points there in the defense, what about in the midfield with Bruno and Rodgers? And if you're bullish on Bruno, I think that's understandable. So, look, there are different ways of approaching the game, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but sometimes you come down to these crossroads. It seems like a 50-50 call, and it could result in a massive swing of points. But my preference was to go for more money in the defense, although admittedly, I don't think you need 2 or 3 premium defenders. I think 1's enough. So if you can still attain that whilst keeping Bruno Fernandes, that's completely fine. And then Colwill and Gomez, I think you're right. They're the best budget defenders from Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal, because with Arsenal, they don't really have a budget defender. Only Kivior, but once Gabriel's back, that becomes redundant. So, yeah, I think that's fine. What you've said is completely, viable and logical, and I think it works very well. Ola Dilan did Haaland and Aït-Nouri to Isak and Saliba. Yeah, good transfers. When Gabriel is back, which could be today, actually, he's my favourite Arsenal defender. Jurriën Timber also offers great value, but Saliba has been brilliant in the last week. In fact, he's got back-to-back goals in the Premier League, and in UCL Fantasy, he got me 10 points. So he's been on fire in the last 3 matches. So yeah, good transfers overall. Thoughts on Son, captain? I was asked this last week as well, I think. The problem with Son is he's very inconsistent this season. His level has dropped. He is declining. He's approaching the kind of tail end of his career. I know he's still quite young in the grand scheme of things, but that's the way football works, right? The thing is, Southampton are the weakest team in the league. Spurs could either batter them or lose 1-0. I mean, Spurs are such an enigma this season. They're very difficult to predict. So if Spurs turn up, I think that could be a masterstroke, but it's a huge risk. It's a high-risk, high-reward scenario. I would rather, bank my trust in a Palmer, Salah, or Saka. They play in better teams. They're better players right now. But I don't think Son's a terrible captain. He would be my top 10. I'm just not that bullish on him as I was maybe last season, or more specifically 2 or 3 years ago. Mazraoui for a -4 for anyone other than Arsenal defenders. Well, Trent, Van Dijk, Joe Gomez. The thing with Gomez is it's not like a great pick in terms of he's not going to get you goals or assists. Bonus points will be kind of, sometimes he'll get some if Liverpool win narrowly. That's fine. But yeah, it's probably going to be one of those Liverpool defenders, if not Levi Colwill, just because of the fixtures. I'm not a big fan of Colwill in general, but that could work. Unfortunately, the chat is kind of lagging, so hopefully it's all good, by the way. But Evanilson or Strand Larsen, or buy. I'd rather buy Evanilson. It's similar with the Aït-Nouri scenario. I wouldn't invest in Wolves assets now. The next 2 fixtures look good on paper, but then it's a terrible fixture run. Yeah, I wouldn't buy Strand Larsen. Bench Bruno or Enzo? That is a difficult one, I'm not going to lie, but I would actually bench Enzo. I'd back him to actually blank this week, and I think United could surprise City. Now, in a lot of scenarios today, I'm going to say bench Bruno Fernandes, but here, I'm actually going to say start him. And I know it's an unpopular opinion. I could be wrong about it. I like Enzo Fernandez. You know, he plays, you know, every single game for my country. But yeah, Bruno Fernandes for me. Wissa Ivanoson long term. Yeah, I think there might be an issue with... yeah, there is. The live chat is just completely gone, by the way. Hopefully the stream isn't lagging. Let me know if there's any problems in terms of audio or the visuals, anything like that. Hopefully that's not the case, but yeah, the chat actually just died on me. I'm unsure which defender to put on. Who would you select, Aina or Gvardiol? I'd go for Gvardiol just because of the attacking potential. As good as Forest are this season, I still think they can concede to Villa. And I think United score against City, but what separates the two is the attacking potential. I think Aina's got one shot on target this season. You know, yeah, I'd rather go for the Croatian. Start Rodgers or Kirkes? I would rather start Kirkes. Fabianski and Sanchez, should I replace them? If so, for who? That's fine, mate. You don't need to sell them. Honestly, Sanchez has great fixtures until Gameweek 23. Fabianski's a backup goalkeeper. I mean, who will score the most points from now until the end of the season in goal? If Alisson stays fit, probably him and Raya. But do you need to make that move? You could even triple up on both teams, Liverpool and Arsenal, in the outfield position, so just keep them. Start Colwill or Hall? Lewis Hall. Ala Madrid says Sanchez, Van Dijk, Nuri, Timber, Salah, Rodgers, Watkins, Palmer, Saka, Larson, Jackson. Rate my team and suggestions. For this week, I would probably say an 8 out of 10. I think what maybe lets it down a little bit is you've got Watkins, who came off of an injury problem at halftime against Leipzig. We could see Duran start. And you've also got Rodgers, which isn't terrible, by the way, but having a double up of Villa against Forest isn't perfect, especially away from home. Villa have been so inconsistent. But yeah, I mean, it's a good team overall, I'm not going to lie. But you might want to consider Watkins to Isak. I think that could work really well for you. And that brings up to a 9, potentially. That's obviously subjective. And in future weeks, there will be some sells in there, like Nuri. I think he's definitely expendable after Gameweek 18, or after Gameweek 17. Best 4 million defenders, not a big fan of them, mate, if I'm being honest. Jacob Greaves, but Ipswich Town have a very weird kind of defender policy. It seems like they don't like having centre-backs on the bench. I think McKenna said this, and it's kind of shocking to hear a manager have that sort of outlook on it. Matic says, nope, everything good. Should I play triple or bench boost, only chips left? You don't need to play chips this week necessarily, and I don't know your team and the context, so very difficult for me to say. So yeah, it's probably not worth giving an answer with, you know, whilst being in the dark, let's say. Wissa Ivanoson long term, definitely Ivanoson. I wouldn't be buying Wissa, Mbumo, Cunha, Strand Larson this week, but if you've got these players, I think they could be holds. I just wouldn't invest though. As a Chelsea fan, I don't believe Sanchez and Chelsea defender. That's fair. I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans say that in my recent videos. And in isolation, yeah, I think Arsenal and Liverpool are much better defensively. Don't get me wrong. But Chelsea will still keep probably the 3rd or 4th most clean sheets, or have the 3rd or 4th least amount of goals conceded this season. And it's a fixture play, right? Until Gameweek 23, no one has better fixtures than Chelsea. It's as simple as that. And if you've gone for Palmer and Jackson up front, do you go for Enzo Fernandez and triple? I wouldn't do that. So my preference would be 1 defensive coverage, and I think a few clean sheets until Gameweek 23 are on the way. So that's the way I look at it. No worries, Ala Madrid, and good luck for Gameweek 16. Semenyo or Enzo? For this week, it'd be Semenyo, but if I'm buying one now, it's going to be Enzo Fernandez, isn't it? Greaves to Nuri. I would not be buying Nuri. I can't stress this enough. Now, if you really want to go there, fair play. I mean, Nuri could really haul this week. I'm not denying it. The problem with Nuri is he plays in a terrible defence. The fixtures turn in Gameweek 18, so you've only got 2 good fixtures on paper, and Nuri just needs 1 more yellow to be suspended. I'd rather go for Lewis Hall, Colwill, Joe Gomez, and all these players I've discussed recently. Joachim Andersen when he's fit. Who to bench? Nuri, Joao Pedro, Enzo Fernandez. Start 3 from Delap, Kai Havertz, Semenyo, Bowen. So basically bench 1. I'd actually bench Gerard. Do I? Gerard Bowen? I keep saying start Semenyo though, and I really don't trust the guy. I really don't trust him. I'm going to say bench Bowen here, reluctantly. Should I start Van Heck against Palace at home or Colwill against Brentford? Van Heck. I think Chelsea concede. I might buy Colwill, though, just to bolster my defensive line. If you do see anything on Twitter, by the way, and always verify your sources, you know, always have a good look at the username. There are some trolls out there and a few stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to have a look myself and see if there's any definitive updates or leaks. I don't think there is, but it is worth going for. Let's see if I can get anything on Gabriel. Anything new. But yeah, no, I think all the updates from Gabriel were from yesterday. So yeah, I'm going to keep him regardless. So yeah. Still having a look at Twitter and seeing if there's anything I've missed. But I don't believe that's the case. Okay. I'll probably leave it for a while in terms of my transfer plans, but yeah, for those that aren't aware, I did cover this in my team selection a few days ago, but essentially it's going to be a boring transfer. The most likely scenario is I'll sell either Mikalenko or Veltman to Levi Colwill, and Cole will be on the bench, ready to come on if needed. So my current preference is to sell Mikalenko and kind of hope that Veltman starts, but it is risky to put him in my starting 11 because Lamptey, with his current form, will probably start, and Veltman could come on for a one-pointer, so that could be an issue in of itself. But Aït-Nouri and Gabriel will definitely start for me. I just don't see myself selling the Brazilian unless he is ruled out somehow within the next hour or so. And in that case, I might even go to Timber, I go to a Liverpool defender, or I kind of change things up a little bit, maybe even take a -4 hit. But that is my current plan. The captaincy could switch, I'm not going to deny it. Saka and Palmer are very tempting. The other attackers are also decent punts, but it's going to be one of the big three for me in the midfield, and I'm currently going for Salah. So we'll see how that goes. It could be another massive swing. I captained Palmer last week. It turned out very well for me, and thank God I did it because it would have been a red arrow otherwise. It was a big difference maker. The same goes for keeping in Boomer. Fabianski, start. Yeah, I think he starts, but in terms of like, do you start him or another goalkeeper? I don't know what the context is in your situation. Sells or Fabianski? I'd start Sells. Semenyo or Enzo to start? Semenyo, reluctantly. Start one of Bruno, Colwill and Evanilson. Should I start Strand Larsen or Matoma this week? Strand Larsen. Abdulrahman says buy Isak or Trent. Isak, but they're both great transfers. Tommy Raw says, hey Dylan, Bruno, Rogers, Aït-Nouri, Hall, which two to start? Need at least one defender. I would start Aït-Nouri. And I'd probably go for Bruno. I'd chance on him. Bring in Van Dijk and Ahmad this week for Dallo and Mbumo so I can take a -4 before price rises to bring in Isak and Anderson for Cunha and Aït-Nouri. Have the exact budget. Good transfers in. With Amad Diallo, though, you're going to get inconsistency with minutes. That's my main issue with him. So I do prefer Enzo Fernandez, actually, at the similar price tag. The problem with Enzo is he blocks you of your ideal Chelsea triple-up. But yeah, Van Dijk is a great move. I don't mind that. I wouldn't take a hit for a goalkeeper move. And Fabianski should stay. He's your backup goalkeeper, if anything. I'd rather sell your main goalkeeper, but who is that? Let me just deal with spammers. Thank you for doing that already, beating me to it. I think YouTube is bugging out a little bit, by the way, because all my YouTube pages like crashed and I had to refresh them. Yeah, okay. That's just not going to go. All right, thank you very much to FPL. Well, I was going to say my own name. I thought someone else moderated it. But anyway, thank you to the moderators for helping me clean house. I do appreciate it. Let's get the likes up. Our aim is to get this to over 200. So let's be sure to reach that goal by the end of the stream. We've still got over an hour left for the deadline. So keep on plugging away at your questions. Keep it respectful. Also, make sure to not spam. And also with the repeat questions, bear in mind they could be skipped because we want to keep things fresh and not repeat ourselves. Strand Larsen, Joao Pedro and Solanke. Which one do I bench? Probably Strand Larsen. Femi Abbas says, Ahmad and Rogers both played 90 minutes midweek. Do you think either one of them starts? The thing is with Rodgers, I said this recently, he started every single game for Villa this season in the Champions League and Prem. He will get rested eventually, but he's more likely to start than Amad Diallo in any given game week. So normally I'd lean towards Rodgers. No worries, El Patini. Should I do Timber for Gabriel, have Davis and Van den Berg on the bench? I think Gabriel starts personally, but I understand your question, and I also thought about it throughout the week because I went down to 9 men last week, if you count Van den Berg as, going down a man with 0 points. Yeah, having Davis and Van den Berg on the bench is not ideal. I'd keep Gabriel though. Mbeumo to Enzo or Ahmad? It would be Enzo, but I have to repeat myself with the Chelsea thing. So my ideal Chelsea triple up is Palmer, Jackson, and Robert Sanchez in goal, and if not, a defender like Colwill. So going for Enzo blocks you off that triple up. If you're happy with it and you don't want to go for Jackson, then go for Enzo Fernandez for sure. So yeah, funds Welbeck to Jackson or just roll. That's the problem. So you actually want to buy Jackson. That makes it a bit awkward. If you're completely happy to go about Palmer, which I wouldn't recommend, or a Chelsea defender / Sanchez, which is more reasonable but still not ideal. That's the problem with this question. It's a good one, and this kind of highlights the problem with Enzo Fernandez. So yeah, in isolation, I'd say Enzo, but if you're looking to go for Jackson and also a defender / Sanchez in goal, just go for Amad Diallo. Sujan says, which two should I start, Semenyo, Cole, Aït-Nouri, or Hall? I would go for Aït-Nouri and Semenyo. Play Dunk or Robinson. There's no chance I'd recommend Robinson this week. So Dunk, Fabianski or Verbruggen. I'd go for Verbruggen. I'd double up on Brighton and hope for the best. I don't think Veltman is going to play. It's 50-50 in terms of him returning to the squad, but I think Lamptey starts, unfortunately. Fleck into Raya for a hit. Long term, the hit pays off, and you know me, not a big fan of -4s for goalkeepers, but in this case, it will pay off long term, so not against it. Duarte says Raya, Gabriel, Borro, Palmer, Bruno, Saka, Salah, Wood, Joao Pedro, Cunha, Semenyo, Mikalenko, Van den Berg on the bench. Yeah, good squad. In terms of your starting 11, no issues with it. You could argue Semenyo over Bruno. That's, debatable, but that's the only real benching dilemma you have. That's fine. Good squad for this week. Rico Lewis and Mikalenko replacement. Joe Gomez will be up there, but I think in a lot of cases I'd recommend Levi Colwill and Kirkes. Bench 1 says Power. Rodgers, Mbeumo, Welbeck, and Joao Pedro. I would look to bench Rodgers on the face of it. Play Rodgers in the place of Joao Pedro or Cunha? No. I'd just bench Rodgers in this case. That's the way I'd go for it. Cunha to Isak. Next week, I'd be more willing. I wouldn't do it this week. Especially for a hit. Payman Armin says, hi Dylan. Defenses Gabriel, Aït-Nouri, Hall, Lewis, and Greaves. No free transfers, 0.6 in the bank. Should I do a -4 for a defender? If so, who? I'd keep what you have. I think Gabriel starts. Well, I say keep what you have. You do have Lewis who's suspended, and Greaves is either starting or not in the squad at all. Nah, I would probably make a transfer in the defensive line, but I'd keep Gabriel. I'd probably sell Lewis and then go to Colwill or those defenders I mentioned before. Sell Mbeumo for Semenyo for free. I wouldn't do that, no. The only kind of upside to that sort of transfer is it gives you more funds to then buy Trent or Saliba, these premium defenders, or maybe Isak / Jackson up front. That's fine. Otherwise, I just wouldn't do it. I think Mbeumo is a much better option than Semenyo. Hall, Gay, Gvardio, Aït-Nouri, Saliba. Saliba should definitely start for you, in my opinion, against Everton. So Saliba, Aït-Nouri, and I would probably go for Lewis Hall here. Diogo says, has anyone noticed that Iwobi is the 10th player with the most points this season? More points than the likes of Isak, Bruno, Jackson, Diaz. Yeah, it's crazy, but I would not invest this week. If you are looking for a budget midfielder, though, I think Iwobi's fine. The problem with him is if he blanks, 2-3 times in a row, you might be tempted to sell. And with the plethora of options in terms of budget midfielders, you'd be very tempted to switch to Rodgers, maybe Smith Rowe, Buenanote, Amad Diallo, Enzo Fernandez, and the countless others we've discussed, like maybe Kluivert, Semenyo / Matoma. Good afternoon, says Mustafa. Likewise, bench 1, Joe Gomez, Kirkes, and Aït-Nouri. That's a good question. Probably Kirkes here. I'd definitely start Aït-Nouri because good fixture, attacking potential, and I think that is enough to start him this week. But yeah, Kirkes on the bench. Out of those two, I'd bench Enzo Fernandez. I would start Joao Pedro. Easy99 puts his team. Some nice differentials in there, like Damsgaard, who's been quite good for you, but of course he's last on your bench here. I would actually put Damsgaard higher up in the pecking order with your bench. I definitely recommend that. As for your starting 11, though, that's fine. Looks pretty good, except Fass, of course, but yeah, it's a good team long term. Sells or Fabianski? Sells. Enzo or Johnson? Johnson for sure this week. Salah captain or Palmer? I'm going for Salah, you can see on screen. Solanke or Joao Pedro? This week, Solanke. Play Enzo or Rodgers? Rodgers. Start Bruno or Rodgers? Probably Bruno for me. Yep. Hi Dylan, should I do Mbumo, Cunha and Lewis to Isak, Enzo and Colwell? Yes, so long as you're happy not going for Jackson up front, because going for Enzo blocks you off that Chelsea triple up, which I recommend. Thinking of doing Mbumo to Rodgers or Enzo for Pedro to Isak this week? I'd personally keep Joao Pedro and not do those transfers now, but that's my opinion. Pradans Gaming says, Gvardiol, Wood, Aït-Nouri, Kirkes. A lot of benching questions this week, it seems. I would not bench Chris Wood. If anything, I would bench Gvardiol and Kirkes. Isak or Jackson? This week, Isak, long-term Jackson. Really depends on your play. Hi Dylan, Johnson, Gordon, Madison or Diaz only for this week. Brennan Johnson. Che says defensive issues. Aina and Mikalenko. I have 2 free transfers but no funds. Other defenders are Gabriel, Hall and Greaves. Sanchez and goal. Suggestions? I think Aina's okay to start this week, and despite the poor fixtures long term, I don't think it's a terrible decision to keep him and put him in your starting 11. Mikalenko, though, I'd look to sell. I really would. I know he's cheap, but yeah, you say you got no funds. Maybe Mikalenko to Howson could work for you, but because Aina's more expensive, it also gives you more options to invest in, like Colwill, but because you've got Sanchez and goal, I would not recommend a Chelsea defensive double up. I think that's way too excessive. So yeah, my personal preference would be Mikalenko to Howson for now. Thoughts on who's playing today, Kelleher or Alisson? It'd be Alisson for me. Best replacement for Kelleher? At a cheap price, so we're looking at budget goalkeepers like Forster and Fabianski, it would be the latter. But as a main choice goalkeeper, my favourites would be Raya, Robert Sanchez, Anana, Alisson himself, and Verbruggen. Probably in the order I listed them as well, by the way. If Alisson wasn't so injury prone, he'd be near the top of the list. But because he's injury prone, and you've also got so many alternatives with Liverpool, like Joe Gomez right now, Trent, Van Dijk, he's a bit lower down if you kind of catch my drift. But I'd say Raya or Sanchez as a main choice goalkeeper. Solanke or Joao Pedro, that's been covered, mate. Solanke this week. Long term, I'd rather have Joao Pedro, though. Luis Diaz or Gordon for Mbumo? Can I say neither? I think Mbumo is better than both. Why Salah captain of a Palmer? I've covered this a lot, mate. This will be the last time I cover Salah and stuff like this, you know, reasons why and stuff. But essentially with Salah, he plays in a better team. He's been more consistent than Palmer. Fewer blanks, more double-digit hauls, more FPL points. And Brentford have a great record at Stamford Bridge. 3 wins out of 3. Whilst Fulham are going to Anfield with no Calvin Bassey, who's suspended. Joachim Andersen's injured. And I just think Salah is very difficult to go against right now with his current form. So I think Palmer's a great choice. Same with Saka, who might actually be even better than Palmer for me this week. That's definitely a debate. Isak, but I think Salah is still the top dog, and you need a great reason to go against them, in my opinion. Rodgers or Maddison? Maddison this week. Wood or Rodgers? Who to start? Chris Wood. Start or sell Havertz? If you can sell Havertz to Isak or Jackson, I'd sell him. But he played very well against Monaco. I think against Fulham and United, he was poor, but really good cameo against Monaco. I think he'll start as well. But I'd sell him to Isak or Jackson if you can. Watkins to Gakpo? No. Not for me. I'd rather go to the 2 forwards I just mentioned. Even the budget options like Evanilson or Joao Pedro. Yeah, those are my preferences. And with Liverpool, Salah, Trent, Van Dijk, you know, I wouldn't mind a defensive double up with Liverpool and then Salah up top, but not Gakpo for me. I think Gabriel plays. I can't guarantee it though. It's just my opinion. Based on the recent reports, it seems like he will. Bench doesn't matter if you don't do bench boost correct. It does. In terms of the order, it's very important to have it structured right, because if you've got Vandenberg first on your bench and you've got, let's say, Semenyo third on your bench and Semenyo scores, Mbuma misses out and you need that sort of substitution to come into play, it'll be Vandenberg coming on and not Semenyo. So ordering it is very important, and having a good option on your bench is vitally crucial, especially in this Christmas period where you've got suspensions, injuries and rotation happening very often. Who shall I replace Gavardio with for the long term? An Arsenal or Liverpool defender. So if you want to take a chance on Gabriel, I don't mind it, although admittedly it is risky. Yeah, Gabriel, Trent would be right up there for me. How high do you think the effective ownership will be on Salah, Palmer and Saka? I think Saka will have the lowest, but it will still be quite high, around 90% maybe. I'm not an expert on these things though, I will admit, but with Salah, yeah, I think both Salah and Palmer will have 120% and above. It's going to be a close one. Late fitness test for Gabriel right now. Thank you for the update. I'm going to have a look myself and see if I can find anything, but yeah, it seems very touch and go, which Sean Dyche loves to say. Yeah, I'm going to have another look. If you've got a link, that'd be greatly appreciated so I can verify the source too. But yeah. Let's see. See if we've got an update on Gabriel. Sometimes it's impossible to get what you're looking for on Twitter, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, maybe there was nothing on Twitter. So I'll look again later. So let's keep on plugging away the likes. Let's get to 200 plus. That'd be greatly appreciated. It costs nothing and goes a long way to supporting the channel. Richard Millichip says, is Trent worth 7 million when Van Dijk is cheaper and currently has more FPL points? Up until this point of the season, I think Van Dijk's been the better option. That's been quite clear. Offers better value, scoring more points. I just think over the course of the season, I do think Trent will outscore him if he stays fit. And he also could actually be benefited from the early substitutions. So when Liverpool concede late goals, which will happen at some stage this season, when Trent is subbed off early, he can bank a clean sheet, whilst Van Dijk will, you know, have a 6-7 pointer turn into 1 or 2 points towards the end of the game. That's the way I look at it. But the most important thing is the difference in terms of output. Trent has had really good underlying numbers with key passes and big chance created, and he has been robbed of many assists this season. So I do think Trent is worth the extra millions, but I do admit up until this point of the season, Van Dijk has been better. I just think it will change. I think Watkins will be benched. That's my current take on it. I'm not sure my opponent is in the overall cup, to be honest, mate. I just know that I went through because of a bye. Hey Dylan, sorry for the long message. I'm using wildcard and ending up with Raya, Trent, Hall, Colwill, Rogers, Matoma, Salah, Palmer, Pedro, Isak, Jackson. Ahmad is also on the bench. What do you think? So solid wildcard team. Not many issues with it. I think the midfield is kind of interesting because apart from Salah, Palmer and Saka, there aren't many standouts. My main issue of your squad is you don't have Saka, it looks like. You didn't mention him anyway. But you did say, what, Matoma, Salah, Palmer, Rogers, and Ahmad. Yeah, so you made a conscious decision there not to go for Saka, which allows you to go for Isak and Jackson, which I get. I'd still recommend Saka, though. You know, Arsenal have scored the second most goals in the Premier League in this calendar year. You know, in recent weeks, since the international break, they've scored the most goals, I believe, of any Premier League club. I'm a bit skeptical about no Saka, but I also encourage people to be different. And in my wildcard team, I actually talked about having Jackson and Isak at the same time, but also Saka. So check out that wildcard video and see what you think of it. Maybe that could help you restructure a little bit and find a way to get Saka into your squad. But it also means no Trent. So there's always a compromise that needs to be made. Greetings, Dylan. If people only listen, it would cut down these same questions over and over. Yeah, look, I do understand sometimes there are certain factors and reasons why that happens. But yeah, some people, I don't know, troll or whatever it is, but it is what it is, you know. Should I play Joao Pedro and Rota or bench one for Jimenez? I would not start Jimenez this week at all costs. It's as simple as that. I'd start Joao Pedro and Rutter. How high do you think the effective ownership are covered? Should we keep Gabriel? Is he in? I would recommend keeping Gabriel. I think he'll start, but we haven't got an update today. I did cover what we got yesterday, which is that Gabriel trained, but that's pretty much it. Gabriel starts leaked lineups on Twitter. I've heard of that page. I'm not sure if they're reliable when it comes to, actual news, but hopefully they are, and they're right. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure how reliable that is. I've got a sneaky feeling they're probably the type to like delete posts when they get it wrong. I'm not sure. I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt. Let me put it that way. I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt. But thank you for the update there. Who do you have first on your bench? Is it Void? No, the goalkeeper doesn't count. The goalkeeper only comes on for your first choice goalkeeper. You can't have a goalkeeper coming on for an outfield player. So in my case, it'd be Semenyo. He's first on my bench, Vandenberg second, and Mikolenko's third. If Raya was somehow to miss out, well, Valdemarsson doesn't play, but let's assume he did, then that would be another substitution that is made. But my defense is so weak, and it has been for a while, I need to make a transfer. So as much as I don't like Colwill in Gameweek 16, it's a good long-term acquisition, and that's why I'm looking to sell Mikolenko or Veltman to Levi Colwill. The other options would include Lewis Hall for me, maybe Kirkes, and I think Kirkes is the kind of most exciting of the lot, but Bournemouth aren't the most reliable defensively, and their fixtures aren't as good as Chelsea's, although, until Gameweek 21, it is quite close between the two. I'm scared Welbeck isn't going to start, says Power. Yeah, no, I completely get that. It is a possibility that he doesn't start, but I personally think he does. Actually, let me see if because I did see a leaked lineup, not a leaked lineup, sorry. I saw a predicted lineup from Brighton. Yeah, Welbeck is in it. I think he starts. I won't lie to you. But I understand your concerns. Hi, Dylan. Should I transfer Cunha to Isak? I'm really bullish on the Swede, but I probably wouldn't sell Cunha this week. Hi, Dylan. Start one of Aït-Nouri, Rodgers, or Joao Pedro. It's between Aït-Nouri and Joao Pedro. I'd bench Rodgers. I'd probably still start Joao Pedro. Rodgers, Semenyo, Solanke, who... The two selections. Semenyo and Solanke. Keep or sell Watkins. I'd sell him. Yeah, I'm gutted about that. I really thought Watkins was the best captain last week. If I had him, I would have captained. Very unlucky. We've seen a lot of that in recent weeks in terms of Jackson, being subbed off early against Villa. Then you're thinking he's going to start against Southampton. No, he doesn't. And then Watkins against Brentford, subbed off around 65 minutes. You're like, surely he's going to start. No, doesn't happen either. Mikolenko or Pau Torres, I'm guessing that is. Pau Torres, not a big fan of either, but that is the slight preference. Rodgers or Semenyo? Semenyo. Alfred69 says, hi Dylan, bench one, Mbumo, Semenyo, Joao Pedro. I'd bench Semenyo. Mikolenko double on the horizon. True. That's a good point, actually. That is a good point. It could be in Gameweek 24 or 25. That is actually a really good point, actually. Yeah, I'm going to stop saying actually. I think in my case, probably just best to sell Veltman, isn't it? Hi, mate. Pickford to Alisson, good or play Fabianski for the next 3 weeks? That is a good question. The thing with Pickford is he's got poor long-term fixtures, but of course, just like Alisson, there could be a double in Gameweek 24 or 25. So the thing with Pickford is he's always going to be up there in terms of the highest scoring goalkeepers. He hogs bonus points with Everton, makes a lot of saves. I think I'd just start Fabianski for now and reassess. I wouldn't buy into Alisson straight away, although I did in UCL Fantasy, but that's a different story. Start Kluivert or Rodgers? Kluivert. Start Howson or Aina? Howson. Rodgers or Larson? Play one. Larson. Captain Isak? He's in my top 5. I do have Haaland ranked higher, and the kind of big three of Salah, Palmer, and Saka in that order. I do think Saka's a brilliant differential captain, though, I'm not going to lie. He'd be right up there in my thinking. Not sure about that midtermer to Rodgers for free. Not too sure about that. Thank you, Abbo. Good afternoon, FPL legend. My plan is Haaland, Maddison, Mazraoui out, Salah, Isak, Istupinian in. What do you think? Great moves. I'm a bit concerned about Brighton assets in terms of investing now because they've got poor fixtures around Gameweek 18-19, a bit like Wolves. But Estupinian is the best Brighton defender, it looks like, so long as he can stay fit and, you know, there isn't too much rotation in the left-back area. Salah and Isak speak for themselves. I mean, them alone make the free transfers worthwhile. I'm on board with it. Of course, selling Haaland against United, he could score a brace or a hat-trick. Of course he could. And Maddison against Southampton, it's a plum fixture. But the players you're bringing in make it worthwhile. Fidani says, hi Dylan, start one of 8 Nuri, Rodgers or Joao Pedro. As covered before, I'd go for Joao Pedro. Yeah, I've been asked this a lot, I can't lie. Just to simply put it, Salah plays in a better team than Palmer, and right now than Saka as well. Also with Salah, he's been the most consistent of the three, fewest blanks, most FPL points, most double-digit hauls, the most reliable captain. He's playing a Fulham side without Calvin Bassey or Joachim Anderson, so there's a lot of reasons why, which I've discussed before. Bruno Rodgers, I'd go for Bruno Fernandes this week. Ola Dylan, -4 for Trent. Yeah, but it just depends who you're selling. Ahmad or Rodgers in the 11? Rodgers. Crispy says Bruno and 8 Nuri to Trent and Gordon / Enzo for a -4. Yes. Yes would be my answer. It's more of a long-term thing, though. You could argue that selling 8 Nuri this week for a hit is a bit of a risk. And also, Gordon I'm not a big fan of. I'd rather go for Enzo. But having said that, I also prefer Jackson, Palmer and Sanchez as your Chelsea triple-up. Palmer or Saka? Long-term, I'd say Palmer. This week is close, though. I think it's very, very close. My forwards, Chris Wood, Cunha and Evanilson. That's a good front three, to be fair. I mean, should I get Isak in or not? Maybe, yeah. I mean, for this week, you'd want to keep Cunha, that's for sure. But long-term, he is the one you'd offload whilst keeping Chris Wood and Evanilson. That's the way I look at it. So, very, very close. I'd probably stick with what you have. Yeah, Arteta is a pain. He can be. I get that. But it gives Arsenal these incremental advantages. And for me, it's the most important thing. Yeah, Demantis. Well, unfortunately, though, the game is played at the Emirates. I saw that tweet on Twitter. Yeah, it's just some trolling going around. Do you think Gabriel will play? Yes, I do. But we'll wait and see if we get any updates. I thought we would, and maybe I will be right, but it's looking less likely by the minute. Hey Dylan, bench one between Pedro Porro, 8 Nuri, Colwell and Gabriel. Colwell on the bench. Bruno, Joao Pedro to start. Joao Pedro. Luffy's Kaizo says sell Rodgers and buy Enzo. No, just keep Rodgers. Colwell or Lewis to Trent. Don't sell Colwell, you sell Lewis here. And Mbuma to Ahmad or Enzo. Already got Palm and Jackson. Yeah, just go for Amad Diallo and keep Colwell. Anana or Fabianski? Fabianski. Hi Dylan, should I sell Watkins and Bruno to Jackson and Saka? Yes. Mbumo, Haaland to Salah, Isak 2 free transfers or wait a few weeks? I'd do it now. Do Arsenal really need advantages versus everyone? I mean, look, even Everton can be a tough cookie. It was a 2-1 win for Arsenal in Gameweek 38 last season. Different circumstances and a lot of pressure on that game. But yeah, I mean, obviously it hasn't resulted in a Premier League title yet, but I hope it does this season or the next year. I think it is, I honestly, as an Arsenal fan, I like it. Obviously, from an FPL perspective, it is a bit frustrating, but for me, Arsenal's more important. Gabriel starts. I think he does. I could be wrong about it, but that's my opinion. Start Johnston or Flecken. Johnston, but yeah. Kanate to Van Dijk for free. Yeah, good transfer. And don't forget, you've got Trent, you've got Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, and also maybe Joe Gomez, but that's more of a short-term thing. I'd rather go for Van Dijk in that case. Hi Dylan, I have Bruno Fernandes and I want to replace him. Who should I pick? Johnson is my favourite. He's actually featured a lot in my recent wildcard videos, which might be surprising to people, but he's been very consistent. Semenyo to Enzo for free. I'd keep Semenyo for now and reassess soon. The same goes for this. I'd keep Rodgers as covered before. Hi Dylan, I'm Bruno Fernandes and I want to replace him. I covered. Alright, so I'm asked a lot about free hits. I'll try to build one quickly, but yeah, I mean, I can't really guarantee anything great because it's literally, yeah, it's on the cuff, let's say. So with Arsenal, I'd probably go for a defensive double up. I'd go for Raya and then one of these defenders like Gabriel, Saliba, or Timber. Gabriel is a risk. He is a risk. If you don't want to take that risk, then maybe look elsewhere. But I'd go for something like this. Alexander-Arnold. Let's see if I can afford what I want to build here. Yeah, this is going to be a problem if I go for Raya, Trent, Gabriel. And if I also want to go for Isak, that's going to be problematic. But let's go for something along these lines. Isak. Fabianski is the backup goalkeeper. Mbumo, yeah, downgraded. We'll just go for a cheaper option. This could be Enzo. Just go for Enzo or any cheap defender. I wouldn't go for Colwell here, don't worry. So, who am I going to replace him with? We could put Kirkes for now or Lewis Hall. Okay. Still 3 million over though, so work needs to be done here. Could go for João Pedro over one of these, you know, free attackers. I am thinking about this, so let's go for Jurrien Timber here right now. Might even have to go for Joe Gomez. It's not ideal, but let's see what we can build. Semenyo. Not a big fan. I'm going to go for Johnson here. Yeah, still a lot of work needs to be done to make this achievable. My God, my squad value is pretty poor then. So yeah, Saka, Palmer, Salah speak for themselves. I'd go for a Spurs attacker and take a punt. So Johnson's my favourite. I like this front three, but I might need to make a sacrifice. Let's go for João Pedro over Cunha for now. Or, you know what, I'm actually going to go for Jackson. Yeah. Go for Jackson, that should be enough. All right, so 0.7 million, roughly. I might have even more available because it has gotten rid of the value I've got tied up in certain players that I sold and maybe bought back. Vandenberg, not really too important, but it could be Kirkes or it could be Howson. We'll go for Howson. Make this a bit more achievable, a bit easier to afford. So Howson, yeah, something like that could be pretty decent. It's all about the starting 11, of course. Ideally, I would go for Trent, maybe Gabriel and stuff like that, but it would require downgrades elsewhere. But roughly, I'd go for something like this. Is there somebody else I'm missing? Yeah, it almost certainly is, but let's see what else I could do, actually. So maybe I could just go for a cheap defender, could be Greaves, and then go for Borderell, which is risky. I mean, Spurs defender, really, but I think Borderell could be worthwhile instead of Ait-Nouri. So yeah, either Borderell or Ait-Nouri, but something along these lines would be my free hit team. It's not perfect. You might have even more money in the bank, and you could definitely make this work. So other options in goal would include, I mean, Forster. Forster could be a decent shout this week, facing Southampton, his former club. Yeah, Alisson, of course. Alisson goes without saying. In defence, I think the big absentees are Gabriel, Trent, Saliba, Van Dijk. They're definitely good choices. I think that's pretty much it, though. In the midfield, I'm actually quite happy with this, if I'm being honest. I think this is fairly decent. Up front, though, Jackson. Yeah, Jackson would definitely be one of the standouts who don't feature. Strand Larson, decent punt. Yeah, Solanke. But I'm quite happy with this setup. Now, you see Palmer, Enzo, and... Well, no, actually, you don't see Jackson. But with Enzo Fernandez, I think he's a good purchase in isolation, but I don't like him long-term if he blocks, you know, your path to Salah, Jackson, Palmer, and Sanchez and goal or Colwell. So hopefully this works for you. Let me know what you think. I was asked a lot about best free hit teams. Start to Mbumo, Wissa, Eze. Probably the two Brentford assets. Also, Gabriel gets so many niggles. He has recently, but it's probably a similar injury. Before that Liverpool game, when he was subbed off, he never, ever came off like that. He was always available for the last couple of years, so it's kind of a recent thing. I do think Arteta actually discussed this in detail in a recent press conference, and he said the fact he's playing for Brazil now so consistently, it's kind of made him more prone to these muscle injuries, so he did hint that it's a muscle problem. Lewis to Van Dijk for free? Yes. Keep it simple. ARX puts his team. Thoughts? Kirkes to cover. That's good. That's a strong position to be in. Yeah, I might do something similar in terms of buying a Kirkes or Colwell to come on if needed, so I'm not against that. I think Gabriel starts as covered before. Mikolenko or Pau, you keep asking the same question and I did answer it. I don't know what else to say. Best defender to replace Kanate, a Liverpool Arsenal defender. So you're looking at Gabriel, Timber, Trent, Van Dijk. It all depends on your budget. Isak captain, I did highlight this earlier. He's in my top 5, but I do rank Haaland, Salah, Palmer and Saka higher. Semenyo, Wood, Matoma, Pedro start 3. So basically the only one to bench, probably Matoma. I'd start the rest. Festus says Aina, Gabriel, Trent, Nuri. Best to bench Aina? Yeah, I think so. I like Forest's defense, but I hate that Nuri has to start because of his upside. I agree. I think you've kind of summed it up there yourself. Sanchez to Alisson. I'm not against it, especially this week. I think Alisson and Raya are the standout goalkeepers. Semenyo, Wood, Matoma covered. Enzo and Isak or Mbuma and Jackson. I prefer Mbuma and Jackson. Yeah, Dubravka's a decent shout, actually, with Nick Pope injured for a long period of time. Yeah, Dubravka's another budget goalkeeper. I was kind of thinking, you know, there's another goalkeeper I forgot about when discussing Forster and Fabianski. Yeah, Dubravka would be the one. Nice suggestion there. Bench Colwell or Kirkes? I'd bench Colwell. Best to buy between Enzo Ahmad. In isolation, it's Enzo, but I've made my feelings on that quite clear. FPL is weird, currently ranked 2k in UCL Fantasy, but like 2 million in FPL. Even in Euro Fantasy this year, I was 16th after the group stage and ended in the top 1% easily. Yeah, I get you. I also do better in UCL Fantasy, to be fair. I've got a good record in FPL, but UCL Fantasy, it's a different breed, so I get what you're saying. Maybe the short format, maybe. The thing is with FPL, I start slowly, and then I kind of get into it later in the season, so I start, you know, building my rhythm, you know, as we get to the run-in. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. It requires a bit of a breakdown in terms of transfers, you know, bad decisions and good decisions and, you know, analysis. And I have done season reviews before in a live stream, and it is quite interesting to dissect your own performances. Good day, Dylan. Ivanilson, Mateta or Gakpo? Ivanilson is my favourite of the 3, especially long term. Good squad there, Easy99 for the FPL Challenge team. I've got something similar, I believe. You've got some interesting picks in there, that's for sure. 4th best midfielder apart from Salah, Palmer and Saka. That's a good question, and I'll be honest, in recent weeks I have been struggling to, you know, kind of identify a standout 4th midfielder, which is one of the reasons why I've kept Mbeumo, but I think Johnson could be up there, especially in Gameweek 16. Who do you think will be the top scorer this match day? Either Salah, Palmer or Saka. I mean, I can't really narrow it down to one, but I'm going for Salah right now. Captain Isak or Cunha or neither? Isak out of the 2, but I do prefer Saka, Palmer and Salah. I do far worse in UCL, better in EFL and FPL. Yeah, it's kind of subjective. I mean, it all depends, right? But yeah, in FPL, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of 50-50 calls here just go tits up. In UCL Fantasy, I get a bit more luck, maybe. I honestly can't really break it down. I don't think Veltman plays, mate. I don't. Flecken or Fabianski, says Payman. Fabianski. So bench 1 says K-Man. I'd bench Konsa. I would start Semenyo there or Summer. Although Gabby is a permanent start, if fit, still concerning about his minutes this game and might see him make early subs again. Yeah, look, the thing is with Gabriel against West Ham, he was only subbed off at half-time because he felt a problem. And against Sporting, he was subbed off around 70, 80 minutes because of the same issue. But yeah, if Gabriel is feeling fine, he'll play the full 90. But I understand your concerns. Who should I pick, Rashford or Vardy? This week, I'd be tempted to say Rashford, but my problem with him is he going to start or not? I couldn't tell you. I think he will, but it's not a guarantee. I'd keep Gabriel, Mosin, but it's a good question. List defenders in order of expected points. Well, I could just refer to Drafthound with that in terms of, yeah, because I'd just be guessing if I just said, oh, expected points. That'd just be my own subjective take on it. We'll do it for this week. So let's go to positions, defenders, and see what Drafthound are cooking. So they put Saliba top, Trent is second, then Timber, Borro, Howson, Kivior, Cucurella, Robertson, Lamptey, and Van Dijk. They're all up there. Gabriel's quite low down because of the yellow flag and the recent absences, but I think he starts and he would be right up there. He's probably top. He'd become top in that algorithm with the assumption that he does start. But yeah, they've gone for Saliba, Trent, Timber as the top 3, which is a very good list in my opinion. There is a link in the description below for Drafthound if you haven't checked it out already. And let's see what they've recommended for my squad. So Salah and Mikolenko, Salah captain, yeah, pretty much exactly what I've gone for. With the exception of Mikolenko, Gabriel, of course, and I might make a defender move within the next hour because it might be needed. If I'm being honest, it might be needed. But let's go to my FPL team again. Very shortly, I'll try to lock in my transfers. Serious question, says Demantis. Borro, Gavardio to Nuri Van Dijk. Yay or nay? Some rumours that Spence will start this game week. Interesting. That's interesting, yeah. I'd probably go ahead with them. Yeah, long-term, they're good transfers. My problem with Nuri, though... Okay, when I say good long-term transfer, that's mainly Van Dijk, not Nuri. I just don't think it's a good time to invest for 3 reasons, which I covered before. Wolves are terrible defensively. Also, if you look at his suspension risk, 1 more yellow before game week 19, and he will miss a Premier League match. And the fixtures turn very soon for Wolves, so I wouldn't buy Nuri right now. Play Johnson over Jackson this week? Yes, but Jackson isn't the type of player you want to bench. Should I buy Colwill or keep Aina? Long term, I'd buy Colwill, but this week, you could afford to just start Aina and then reassess next week. I personally think Chelsea concede. I'd start Brennan Johnson, Jan. That's quite simple for me. First defender on the bench, Mazraoui or Vandenberg. Brentford to cover Gabriel. Probably Mazraoui. I'd look to bolster that if possible. I'm in a similar position. Who to buy? Anderson when he is fit. For cheaper or Colwill? Oh yeah, I think when Joachim Anderson is fit, he could offer you great value at 4.2. So I'd be tempted to hold out a little bit longer. I just keep Rodgers, lanky. I just keep Rodgers. Bench 1, Rodgers, Pedro, Ahmad. I'd bench Ahmad. Mbeumo or Maddison? This week, it's actually close, I'm not going to lie. Like, the fixture is so clear-cut. It's so good for Spurs on paper, but Maddison's also a bit iffy in terms of minutes. He gets subbed off early. Sometimes he doesn't start. And Mbeumo is just guaranteed minutes. Good record against Chelsea. One of the best midfielders this season. Probably just 4th behind the big 3. I'm going to say Maddison, but it's very close. Best defender at 4.3 and below. Probably Howson from Bournemouth. Fucking hell. I don't know why I'm late, but Haaland to Isak and Rodgers or Semenya to Saka for free. Yeah, I'd go for that. Best Gavardio replacement, both long-term and short-term. Just stick with Arsenal and Liverpool defenders, really. Gabriel's a slight risk to invest in right now. So you could just stick with Timber or Trent. Yeah, Dubravka, I think, should start. Yeah, with Nick Pope injured, I think Dubravka will take his place. He's been on the bench in recent games. I don't think he'll be Vlachodimos. If no confirmed news on Gabriel, I get the question, and a lot of people are in a similar position, but I'd still keep Gabriel. I think he's going to start. Isak or Trent for a -4? Isak, but it also depends who you're selling. And without that information, maybe the answer does change. Had to get Timber for Gabriel because only left with Vandenberg or Twanzebe. That's fair. Every time I look to upgrade, there's something happens. Yeah, my defender transfers in the last year or so seem to be cursed in FPL, so I can relate to that situation. Bench Bruno or Ahmad or Wissa? I'd bench Ahmad. Bench Semenya or Bowen? I'd bench Bowen this week, reluctantly. Some of these questions have been answered already, so just make sure to listen to that. Drafthound shows Keller starting. At the moment they do, yeah. I do think they'll change it though. But yeah, it's a difficult one because Alisson started in the Champions League and Keller's been good for Liverpool, generally speaking, with the exception of the Newcastle match, but I think Alisson starts. Start Dean or Gabriel? I'd start Gabriel all day long. I don't know why I'm late. Yeah, covered. That's covered. Thoughts on Mazraoui to Howson and Rodgers to Iwobi. Yeah, that could work fairly well. I'm not against that so much, but I'd also reconsider keeping Rodgers. I think Villa's fixtures are quite mixed, but I think Rodgers is still quite decent to hold. Mbeumo and Clover bench 1. I'd bench Clover, and hopefully you're doing well. Thoughts on Ollie Watkins? I don't think he starts this weekend. I'd sell him to Isak or Jackson personally. Where can I see clean sheet and XG stats? Well, there are different websites for this, but I use FF Scout personally. but there are websites like SofaScore, Who Scored. They provide these stats themselves, and even the Premier League website will provide them. You know, if you go to the FPL page too on your browser, you'll have all the XG stats there. Mikolenko, Paltsaris, Gavadio, 2 to start. I'd bench Mikolenko. Hey Dylan, is Marzarian, Bruno to Trent and Iwobi good transfers for this week? Yes. I think Gabriel's going to start, but at least I got Timber for price rise, so I might own both or get Gabs back without a value loss. That's fair. And Timber should start, right? Bench Pedro Wissa. I'd probably bench Wissa, but he's got a good record against Chelsea, especially at Stamford Bridge. Best cheap defender. I mean, how cheap are we talking? Probably Howson at 4.3 and below. Bench Rodgers, Enzo or Wissa. I would bench Enzo Fernandez. Vivek says Cunha to Isak or 8 Nuri to Trent for a -4. If I had to pick one, it'd be 8 Nuri to Trent for a -4. I think long term it pays off, and you can always buy Isak for free next week. I just wouldn't sell Cunha for a hit. Hey mate, I have Gabriel, 8 Nuri, Hall, Konsa, Kanate. Should I do Kanate to Timber? Yeah. And you could start Gabriel, Timber, and 8 Nuri, and you've got a strong bench. You don't need to do it because you've got defensive depth, unlike me. But yeah, long term, that's a good move. You might also want to consider a Liverpool defender like Van Dijk and kind of spread things out a little bit. The con about the mystery chip is it takes your player's place and it's not free. Basically, it takes one of the free available maximum players. Yes, that is true. And it also takes up your transfers and your budget. Start Wissa or Rashford? Wissa. El Patini says, hi mate, do you think Trent's upside is hugely more than Van Dijk, so much so that it's worth having Rodgers and Dibbling in midfield over Ahmad? That is a great question, but you're asking about Rodgers and Dibbling compared to Ahmad. I mean, I don't see a massive difference. If anything, I think Rodgers is the best midfielder of the lot. And Dibbling could just sit on your bench like second or third, and if you ever need him, he can come on for a 2 or 3 pointer. Maybe sometimes he'll get you something, but only 1 goal for him this season. And I do certainly prefer Ahmad and Enzo over him, but I do think Trent's upside is enough. I do think that. We haven't seen it until now. We saw glimpses against Newcastle, 2 assists off the bench. We could see more of that very soon. Van Dijk will score more goals, but Trent will get more bonus points and assists. So I do think he'll justify that price tag. But it's an interesting question. It's just the midfielders you're mentioning, apart from Rodgers, I think the rest are kind of meh, if I'm honest. MC Myth says, hey Dylan, what do you think? Or MC MIV. Raya, Gabriel, Virgil, 8 Nuri, Palmer, Salah, Matoma, Bowen, Cunha, Joao Pedro, Solanke. 0 transfers made. It's a good team. You might need a decent defender though, just in case Gabriel does miss out, but I think he will play. Yeah, I think very soon you'll find yourself selling a few of these assets like Cunha, 8 Nuri, Matoma. Just to name a few examples. What do you think about Saka, captain? Well, he played really well against Monaco, got a brace and an assist. He's at the heart of everything Arsenal do. Very solid home record at the Emirates this season, only blanked against United and Leicester, essentially, so I'm not against it. Next 4 weeks in Boomer and Wissa or Enzo and Isak, that means no Chelsea defence. Next 4 weeks it'd be Enzo and Isak, but yeah, it does block you off either Chelsea defence or Jackson up front, but I'm guessing you got Jackson already. Bruno to Semenyo or Iwobi? I'd rather buy Iwobi. Not necessarily this week, but definitely from Gameweek 17 onwards. Should I bench Enzo and start all 3 of my forwards? Or should I bench one of my forwards? No, yeah, I'd start all of the forwards, even Wissa. Yeah, I'd bench Enzo Fernandez. Abdullah says, hey bro, 8 Nuri, Gabriel, Kirkes, Dean, 1 on the bench. Who'd you prefer? I'd bench Luka Dean. Trent and Enzo or Timber and Bowen? Timber and Bowen. Arne Slot for assistant manager, Rory Van Nistelrooy for bottom assistant manager. Rory. Yeah, I mean, we'll wait and see. If Liverpool drop off, we might look at something else by the time Game Week 24 happens and we can play the chip. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's put it that way. Mazraoui, Lewis, Van den Berg, Greaves, Colwill, sell who for who? Sell Lewis and go to, in your case, probably Kirkes. Haaland's cap, he's 4th on my list. I think he's still quite good, but City are very inconsistent this season, and United could cause an upset. Is Mbumo, Smith Rowe, De Ligt, Saka, Enzo, and Howson for -4 worth it? Yeah, I think so. Saka alone pretty much justifies the hit. No worries, Abdullah. Sells Timber, Trent, Nuri, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Mbumo, Jackson, Cunha, and Pedro. Bench Rogers, Twanzebe, Van den Berg. Got Timber for Gabriel. Thoughts? Yeah. As covered earlier, I think your reasoning for buying Timber makes sense. Of course, if Gabriel is available now, you might think, oh, maybe I could have saved the transfer, but it does make sense given the context and the information we have right now. So that's fair enough. And I also agree about Wolves. I'm looking to sell all of them very soon. TXMN216 says, bro, I transferred in Enzo for nothing. Look, he's a decent budget midfielder right now, but I just think it kind of changes every single week. You know, Wobie's been the most consistent over the course of the season. There was the hype about Kluivert a few weeks ago, which I did dismiss, and I didn't really buy into it too much, and I could be proven wrong still, but that's my opinion. And yeah, with Enzo Fernandez, I just prefer other Chelsea assets. Jackson and Palmer are much better in the attack. I think Welbeck starts. What should I do with Pope? I'd sell Pope if you can, but it's not a priority. You could just start Fabianski and reassess very soon, because you might have a better idea in Gameweek 17 or 18 about the goalkeeper you want, which for me should be between Raya and Sanchez right now. Johnson to Enzo and Lewis to Trent. I wouldn't sell Brennan Johnson this week against Southampton. But on the other side, Lewis to Trent is a great move. But would I sell Johnson? I'd say no. Wood and Gavardio to Kirkes and Jackson. Yeah. You are selling two good assets, especially Chris Wood, but I'd probably do it. Johnson or Semenyo bench one? I think that's fairly simple. I'd bench Semenyo. Bench Mbuma or Fernandez? I'd bench Bruno Fernandez. Punch says, right now, Van Heck, Colwell, Robinson in defense. Should I sell Mbuma for premium defender? Yeah, I think, as I've mentioned before, the best replacement for Mbuma might not necessarily be an Enzo or an Amad Diallo. It could be a striker like Isak or Jackson or Trent at the back. So, yeah, I think that's fair. The only thing I'd say is starting Robertson against Liverpool, try to avoid that. I just don't see him getting anything more than 2 points. Chat Arif says start Kirkes, Cucurella, Timber, Wan-Bissaka or Mazraoui. Timber, Kirkes. Maybe Cucurella, but I don't think Chelsea keep a clean sheet. I'm just going to say it. Don't like the assistant manager chip. They tried, but don't like it. Yeah, at the moment, I don't, but I'm willing to give it a chance. Sell Haaland for Isak or Wissa or who? Sell Mbeumo, Semenyo or Rodgers for Saka. Sell Haaland. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sell Mbeumo, Semenyo or Rodgers. I'll be honest, at the moment, I'd rather sell Semenyo and go to Saka, and then Haaland to Isak. Yeah, looks good to me. Should I do Wissa to Strand Larsen? I wouldn't buy a Wolves player right now. It's really a short-term punt. I'd rather buy Ivanilson or Isak, Jackson. Those are the three forwards I'd recommend buying right now. Isak in, Jackson out -4? No. Start Enzo or Matoma? Thanks. Slight preference for Matoma, but admittedly Enzo is in better form. Anything here for a -4, says Matt's Collectibles. It's a good squad. It's a good squad, but I think your defensive line is the weakest part. So Robinson could be a long-term hold, but you don't want to start him this week. Colwell, good long-term, asset, but not too good this week. I'd buy a defender. Not ideal for a -4, but that is the weakest part of your team. The midfield and forward line are good. I'm keeping Mbeumo. There's no real need to sell him right now. What I could do in the future is downgrade Mbeumo to a cheap midfielder and then use that to buy Trent or a Liverpool defender at the back. That is definitely a possibility for me, but right now I think it just makes sense to make a free transfer, bolster my defensive line if needed, and I think Veltman or Mikolenko will make way. So we are close to 200 likes. Let's be sure to reach that, and also our super chat goal of 5. Once we do that, we will go on for even longer, answer additional questions, go through my predictions, talk about UCL Fantasy, FPL, and other topics. Enzo, Amad, or Rodgers? I would go for Rodgers long term. For this week, it's close. I'd probably still go for Rodgers. Hi Dylan, I have 2 free transfers. Is it worth to sell Bruno to Enzo and fast to Trent or roll the transfer? It's a good question. I'd probably do both moves. I'd buy Enzo and Trent. Next week for free, Mazraoui to Gomez or Colwell. I'd rather buy Colwell. It's a better long-term move. Welbeck or Joao Pedro? Joao Pedro. Wood or Rogers? Chris Wood. Mahuri says bench 1, Bruno, Ahmad, Joao Pedro, Wissa. I'd bench Ahmad. What do you think about this team? Says Hakobayan. It's a solid squad, especially for this week. In a few weeks' time, though, you will have a few issues. You could arguably sell Aina, Cunha, and Bowen, but for now, that looks pretty good. Will Gabriel start? I can't guarantee it, but I think he will. Gavardio to Trent, 1 free transfer or roll. Yeah, I'd do it. Start Matoma or Joao Pedro? Joao Pedro. Doxa says, hi Dylan, happy to see you. I have Enzo, Mbuma, and Wissa, bench 1. I'd bench Enzo. It's an unpopular opinion, but yeah, Brentford are a bit of a bogey team for Chelsea, especially at Stamford Bridge, and Enzo Fernandez has been in brilliant form, but I personally think he blanks against Brentford, and we'll see how right or wrong I am about that. Good morning, Lager. Good to see you. No, it's yeah, good afternoon here in the UK, but it's different for everybody else. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a few rumours about Gabriel being out and stuff like that. We'll wait and see. I mean, if he is, I'm in the mud in terms of my defensive line, but it's about time I make my transfer. I'm just kind of holding out and hoping that we can get some clear-cut information, but I'm not sure we will get it now. I wish I had the luxury of not having to sell Mbuma, but not having Saka is an issue. Have to sell him and buy a budget player. Yeah, that's fair. And with that money, you could also upgrade your defence or forward line. Cole or Kirkes? This week, Kirkes, definitely. Garnacho against the naive City defence or Mbuma against Chelsea? Still Mbuma for me. I think Garnacho's way too inconsistent. So Gakpo and Trent start. Yeah, nothing really too surprising there. Liverpool will go all out against Fulham. What do you feel about the Fulham defence against Liverpool? Mate, no Calvin Bassey, no Joachim Andersen. Liverpool are going to easily win, unfortunately. Yeah, good team, AZ99. I covered I highlighted your squad earlier. Need the Arsenal lineup. Who would you start this game week? Semenyo or Rogers? Probably Semenyo. I've got Tielemans, Rogers, Cucurella, Strand Larson, Robinson, Delap. 2 free transfers. Who should I transfer out? 0 million remaining, says Akshat. Yeah. I don't like Tielemans as an FPL asset. I would recommend selling him. Robinson is an avoid for this week, but you could hold him long term. And I think Strand Larson is a sell very soon. Yeah, Saka captain's a good option. Mark your word, Dylan, about Enzo. Sometimes you word backwards and not go will. I didn't quite get that, but I'm assuming... Look, everyone gets things wrong, and I'm one of them, of course, but I just think Enzo blanks against Brentford. Gabriel's having a late test now. Fucking hell, I mean, all this hype about Gabriel, I mean, that's why he's on the thumbnail, but yeah, I mean, I just wish it was a bit clearer cut than that, and, you know, we knew for sure he's starting. Let's see if I can get this Gabriel update. If you've got a link, put it in the live chat and we can go through it, but we're getting a lot of conflicting reports about Gabriel. It seems. Yesterday it seemed very positive that he would start. Now it's a bit less certain. See if I can get something, but yeah. Just getting all these random tweets. I can't find what I'm looking for. Jesus, X is getting worse by the day, isn't it? Hi Dylan, who to bench? Enzo, Pedro, Jackson or Cunha? I'd bench Enzo. I mean, we don't know for sure, but I think Joe Gomez starts, yeah. If Gabriel's out, that would make things interesting to say the least. Yeah, it would, and it would probably mean I sell Gabriel and just go to Liverpool defender, maybe take a -4 hit, and bolster my defensive line. Bench 1, Aina, Aït-Nouri, Virgil, Kirkes. I'd bench Aina. I won't sell Chris Wood, I won't. He has proven time and time again that it's not wise to go against him. I'll drop Cunha instead when the time comes. Yeah, look, I still think Chris Wood will kind of... He's not going to be as appealing as he was in the first 12, 13 game weeks of the season, but of course that goal against Man United was very encouraging. Henderson or Fabianski? Probably Henderson. In the mystery chip, what manager will you pick? I don't know for sure yet, but you know, if it was available now, I mean, the main ones I'd go for are Arne Slot and Mikel Arteta. Yeah, but that could certainly change very soon. Thoughts on double Arsenal and double Liverpool defence till the second wildcard? Raya, Gabriel, Trent and Van Dijk. I'm not against that completely. I do think having a double up is always risky, and having two of them, you're kind of really over reliant on two squads. But yeah, the two best teams and defenses in the country, so I'm not really against that. Sil says Bruno to Saka and Gavardo to Cole for -4. Yeah, I think Saka makes it worthwhile. Cole will probably blank this week. Mbuma or Rogers? Mbuma. Bench who? Mazraoui, Colwell, Kirkes, Vandenberg, Greaves by Isak, Saka, Kirkes, Sel Lewis, -4. Out of those players, I would bench Vandenberg and Greaves. I don't really back any of them to... Well, you know what? I'd start Greaves over Mazraoui. So Colwell, Kirkes, and Greaves to start, but there's no guarantee you'll get the minutes from Greaves. And then you buy those players. Absolutely fair. Sell Lewis -4. I'm on board. There might have been a super chat I missed because YouTube can be very weird sometimes. Thank you, Baraf. Sia, thanks for the stream. I appreciate the super chat and for helping us reach the goal. So thank you very much. Henderson or Fabianski covered. Bruno to Saka. Yeah, I don't know if the chat is bugging out now. Okay, but from reliable guy in my chat says Twisted Parky. Fair enough. I appreciate that. Colwell or Hall in for Mazraoui. Long term, I'd rather buy Colwell. Admittedly, this week, I think Lewis Hall has a better chance of a clean sheet, but I'm looking at buying a defender myself, and Colwell is at the top of the agenda. I'm thinking Saka's the best captain, because Everton at home is one of the easiest fixtures to score a lot of goals. Yeah, but there's always pros and cons, right? I mean, Salah's been the most consistent player. He's facing a Fulham side without Calvin Bassey or Joachim Andersen, and also Everton have had a big rest. No European games midweek, no Merseyside derby, so there's a lot of things you could say for both sides, really. Sell Gabriel for Trent or hope he plays. I'd start Gabriel. I think he's going to play, but it's up in the air, it seems. It's touch and go. Timber and Gabriel, same thing. I'm going to say stick with Gabriel personally, but I understand if you choose to sell. Best midfielder under 5.5 million. On current form is Enzo Fernandez. That could easily change very soon, though. -4, Isak to Xerxes. Surely it's the other way around, right? You're buying Isak. If so, yeah. I don't like Xerxes in FPL. Arrange Vardy, Wood, or Joao Pedro. This week, Joao Pedro first, Chris Wood second, Vardy third, but Vardy has been the best of the three in recent weeks. Lewis to Kirkes or Colwell or someone else? Yeah, I'm looking at Colwell myself, just the fixtures, I think. If Gabriel's out, then I'm probably looking at ditching Saka, plans buying Trent and a sub 5.1 defender, which could be Colwell or Kirkes in your case. That looks pretty good. Maddison or Johnson? It's close, but slight preference for Johnson. If Gabriel's out, who's the best replacement? Trent, Timber, and yeah, Van Dijk. They're probably the top three. I still like Saliba as well, but thank you, Twisted Parky. I'm going to see if I can get that link up and check it out myself. So let's see. Oh, okay. That's not what I wanted. All right, I'm going to have a quick look here. So we do have 23 minutes until the deadline. Lock in your teams, get things sorted, and yeah, keep on plugging away at the likes, subscribing to the channel. It's all massively appreciated. We're looking to get to 31,000 subscribers. So Gabriel's facing a late fitness test. Okay. Right, okay. Let's see. Thank you, Twisted Parky, for that. We will see how it goes. But yeah, it's very clear I need to make a defender move. Very, very clear. Yeah, no worries, the guy. I got what you're saying anyway. I mean, I'm pretty sure no one's looking to buy Xerxes for Isak, especially for a hit this week. Who should I transfer in, Bowen or Mbeumo? I wouldn't buy any of them. It's kind of a weird... If I had to buy one, maybe Bowen, but it's a difficult one. Start Gavardio or 8 Nuri this week. 8 Nuri. Bring in Timber or Allison. Timber. Bench 1, Garnacho, Kluivert, Chris Wood. I'd bench Garnacho. Ahmad says Wood, Larson, and Kulusevski bench 1. I'd bench Strand Larson, reluctantly. Would you sell Raya for Allison? No, I wouldn't. Hey Dylan, Hall 8 Nuri. 8 Nuri this week, but I wouldn't buy 8 Nuri or any Wolves player now. Captain Palmer or Haaland? Palmer. My rank is 2 million and I don't have Salah. Yeah, look, Haaland's still a good option, but I'd go for Palmer. Yeah, both Salah and Saka are great, but Palmer may be tricky because of their records at Brentford. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm going against it. And I just think Salah's too consistent and reliable right now. Post-Christmas, I'll have a different opinion on Salah probably, but we'll see. Bowen or Mbumo for this week? I'd say Mbumo. I can't lie. Might be others. Dylan just found that one. Yeah, I've had a look as well, but Arsenal Ultra, I'll have a look at that as well. It's just the usual sites and the leaked lineups and stuff that usually talk about this sort of thing. I haven't really posted anything about Gabriel, so see if I can get this to work and see if I got anything. Yeah, I haven't really seen anything. Yeah, there's a lot of different things flying around. What? Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I don't trust the things I'm seeing on Twitter. I don't trust the pages, so I'm just gonna take it with a pinch of salt. Hopefully we do get some confirmation, but it's time for me to make my transfer. Otherwise, I'm gonna do my usual thing of leaving it last minute, and no, I'm gonna try to avoid that. So either Veltman or Mikolenko are making way, and on paper, Mikolenko was the one I wanted to sell, but with that potential double in Gameweek 24-25 and his cheaper price point, there is definitely a case to keep him for now. And unfortunately, Veltman might have to be offloaded, which isn't really what I want to do. So if we actually break it down, I've got 0.2 in the bank. I mean, I could go to Kirkes this week, and then I could still sell Mikolenko to Colwill in Game Week 16. Game Week 17. But 8 Nuri is on the chopping block for me anyway, especially when Wolves' fixtures turn for the worse in the following week, which is Game Week 18. So, yeah, there's a lot to think about here. There is a lot to think about, but yeah, I think I might have to just go with this. I just don't trust Veltman to start. I don't think he will. One of these players are going to make way. I'm going to make a defender transfer and keep things as they are in the midfield and forward line for now. I only speak 2 languages, unfortunately, but it's better than 1, I guess, or 0. Gabriel is on the bus. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're getting this from, but hopefully you are right. Thank you, Coopsy Coop, for moderating the chat. I'm just going to put the message now. It might be too late, but yeah, we always get the same crap, unfortunately. But let's put this up here. All right, pin this message. So we've literally got 80 minutes until the deadline. Time does fly when you're having fun, and I have been streaming for over 2 hours, and it will be a slightly longer stream since we did hit our goal of 5 super chats. Thank you to those that sent them in, especially Aranya, massively appreciated. All the patrons and channel members as well. Yeah, it looks like late fitness test for Gabriel then. It's going to be touch and go. But yeah, if there's any risk, Kivio's just going to play. No need to really risk anything there. Let's see if I can gift memberships. I don't think I can. I'm going to have to wait until probably the 1st of January. So until the new year to do that. But yeah, we are close to 200 likes. Let's get to that. Especially if I answered your question, or maybe even if you didn't ask a question, but you had it answered just through me speaking. All of that is appreciated. Subscribe to the channel. Check the links in the description below for my Twitter and Instagram, Dylan RCM, the Discord server, FPL League, Drafthound, and also Spotify. All of that support is massively appreciated. So hi Dylan, Captain Salah, Palmer, Saka. You can see on screen who I've gone for. I think they're all brilliant choices, but yeah, it would be Salah. Who speaks 0 languages? A baby. Sells or Sanchez have Colwill? I mean, I'd still rather buy Sanchez now. I wouldn't buy a Nottingham Forest player, generally speaking. I think Chris was the only one you can make a case for, but yeah, probably Sanchez. I don't recommend a Chelsea defensive double up, though. Start Semenyo or Enzo? Probably Enzo. Sorry, probably Semenyo. My brain is fried at this point. Thank you, Ahmed. Double up with Welbeck and Joe Pedro up front with Larson, or play in Boomer for Welbeck potentially. That is a close one. I probably wouldn't double up on Brian offensively, especially at this point. Yeah, I'd just play in Boomer. Yeah, I'd go for the other option. I wouldn't go for Welbeck and Joel Pedro up front. The thing is, like, you've already got them in your team, right? So it's not like a question of investing. That does make it slightly different. And Mbeumo has a good record against Chelsea, so it's a very close call. I'm going to stick with Welbeck and Joao Pedro up front then, but I would recommend going off that when you can, Ahmed. Kulusevski, Kudus or Madueke for this game week only. Kulusevski. Best 4.9 million or below defender to buy for this week. Probably Kirkes. 7 million replacement for Cunha after game week 17. Ivan Start Wissa or Hall. I'd start Wissa. I hope in the future the deadline is closer to the game kickoff like American Fantasy. At least that way we don't have to stress over team leaks. Yeah, but they've done that for a reason. They changed the deadline and they made it, you know, even earlier than it usually was back in the day because of the leaks. Yeah, UCL Fantasy as well, Euros, World Cup Fantasy, you know, all of those deadlines are at kickoff of the first match of the game week. So, yeah, I do like that, but it is what it is. How are you, Dylan? Who to captain? From those three, it'd be Palmer. I got Salah, Saka, and Palmer in that middle. Yeah, they're brilliant choices, and it's very difficult to distinguish between them for the captaincy this week, but my preference is Salah. Best striker to buy long-term, Isak or Jackson, and a slight preference for Jackson for me. Gomez short-term punt, yeah, that's absolutely fine, especially in your case. Captain Palmer or Salah. I mean, you can see on screen what I've gone for. Jackson or Isak? Depends on the context. This week, Isak. Long term, I'd rather invest in Jackson. Sell Dean to Trent and Mbeumo to Rodgers. Yeah. Not a big fan of selling Mbeumo, but it does make sense in this context. I'd probably do it. Which lineup is better? Gomez? Kirkes? Right, okay. My favourite is probably the first lineup. Yeah, probably the first lineup. Liverpool defensive double up or Arsenal? I mean, Liverpool have been more solid, although recently they have shown a bit of vulnerabilities, but yeah, it's probably Liverpool at the moment. Start Hall or Gomez? I'd go for Joe Gomez. Start Welbeck or Semenyo? Welbeck. Need to get rid of Watkins and Joao Gomez. Who should I get? Isak or Jackson? And in the midfield, I don't know what your price range is, but yeah, if you can go to Brennan Johnson, I wouldn't mind that. Start Rodgers or Semenyo? I would go for probably Semenyo here. Hi Dylan, good day to you. Gabriel, play, replace or bench? I think he starts, so I'd play him. Start Bowen or Joao Pedro? Joao Pedro. Start Wissa or Rodgers? Wissa. Yeah, eventually Isak comes in next week with Mbeumo making way for either Enzo or Iwobi. Slight preference for Iwobi. Yeah. Bench one, Enzo, Bowen, or Joao Pedro. I'd bench Enzo Fernandez. Thanks again, Dylan. I'm pretty much locked with Salah captain. Good luck. Likewise to you. Enjoy your week. But yeah, I'm going to lock in my team now. Might have another look at a Brighton predicted lineup. I'm not sure I'm going to do it now, just to see if there's any chance of Veltman starting, but I very much doubt it. I think it'll be Tariq Lamptey again. So, yeah, unfortunately, going to have to probably offload him. Or Mikolenko. Let's see if I can get a decent Brighton lineup. Yeah, I'm not sure if that is actually going to be reliable. Let's see. Yeah, I'm kind of sick of Veltman, to be honest. I'm probably just going to offload him and then reassess the situation very soon. So I think what I could start to do in my team, and I mean, it's a big regret of mine selling Isak. I've obviously covered that to death in recent weeks, but I think I might keep things kind of stable in the midfield and forward line for now. And I think from game week 18 onwards, I'll start to make some changes in those positions. But the real focus for me is going to be the defense. So for this week, Kirkes is probably the best defender I could buy. And maybe Joe Gomez also enters that equation, to be fair. So, you know, one of those two could come in for Veltman now. And then I could either sell Mikolenko next week for Colwill or wait a little bit longer to sell 8 Nuri. So those could be my transfer plans. If we quickly go over to fpl.team and, you know, that was going to be like the free hit squad, you know, for those that are playing the chip, this is what I'd probably go for. But let's reset this because, yeah, I'm going to focus on, let's see, let's get my team selection up, make it simple. So that's going to be the wild card, load it up, and load up the team selection here. All right. So let's do Veltman. And I won't. Actually, I think I should just reset all of it. So reset. Let's bring in Salah. Semenyo on the bench. So this is how I have things ordered at the moment. Okay, so Veltman out, and we'll put, let's say, Kirkes for now. All right, that looks pretty decent. Salah's my captain this week, Palmer vice. Okay, then going into next week, I could still have this sort of, yeah, that's the problem with signing Kirkes this week. I still don't want to start him against United at Old Trafford, despite the 3-0 win there last season. So Colwill with Everton away looks better on paper. But I could still sign Mikalenko. I mean, here it says I got 0.1 in the bank. I'm pretty sure I got 0.2. So yeah, I'm not sure how that works. But yeah, I could do Mikalenko to Colwill, I'm fairly sure. And then put Colwill in that way. But the ideal thing would be to sell Aït-Nouri in Gameweek 18 when he's got Man United, Spurs, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Liverpool and Bournemouth. A terrible run of fixtures. Even Fulham at home isn't that great, is it? Then you've got some decent ones like Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Ipswich. But yeah, that period between Gameweek 18 to 26 is pretty grim for Wolves. And I'm looking to go off all those Wolves assets. But I think I should just keep things simple. I'm going to buy Colwill this week. So I'm going to go back now to fpl.team. And yeah, Veltman's going to make way, I believe. I'm sick and tired of that guy. So let's buy Colwill. He's on the bench if needed, or technically he would start, actually. He would technically start. Yeah, that is pretty much how things are going to go. So Veltman was a completely just useless transfer. It basically meant I took a -4 hit. So I lost 4 points and gained nothing from the Dutchman. So Gabriel on the team bus passed the late fitness test. Thank you for that. Veltman's still 50-50, we don't know. Yeah, but Lamptey's been in good form, and a lot of these predicted lineups do have Veltman in it. Sorry, Veltman in it. They do have Lamptey in the lineup. So yeah, like in my case, like I'd start Veltman, but he could come on for a 1-pointer, and that'd be so frustrating for me. Roll, says Gary. Yeah, in my case, personally, I don't think rolling is a good idea because I could basically rely on Mikalenko or Van den Berg coming off the bench with terrible fixtures. And never say never, right? But I just don't see them doing anything. Buy Gomez, Kirkes or Colwill. Long term is Colwill. Wood and Johnson versus Jackson and Rogers. Close one, but it's probably Jackson and Rogers for me, long term. Selling Boomer and Aït-Nouri to Enzo and Trent. I wouldn't sell Aït-Nouri this week. No. I'd do that in Gameweek 18, not now. Start Van Ossen over Rogers. Yes. Start Rogers or Semenyo, as covered before. Probably Semenyo. Not a big fan of him, though. Keep or sell Dallo. Probably a sell. Fabianski or Flecken. Fabianski. Do I do Mbeumo to Enzo? No. Want to ditch Borro? I mean, I'm not a big fan of him in general. You could even say this week. There are some rumours of Spence starting, and Southampton could cause an upset because Spurs are Spurs. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, I'm going to make my transfer now. I'm sick and tired of this crap. It's just really deciding who do I sell. Is it Mikalenko or is it Veltman? I might want Mikalenko back in Gameweek 24-25, but that is a long way, obviously. We're talking about February here. Yeah, I mean, it's probably, they're all terrible. Van den Berg, Mikalenko, and Veltman, they're all terrible assets, but I think I'm going to go for this. Have the extra option, just remove the headache of Veltman, who might start getting some returns now that I sell him. Bloody bastard. Captain Son or Palmer? It's going to be Palmer for me. I have 2 free transfers. Should I do Aina to Kirkes? But I have Hall and Aina. They rotate perfectly, so I'm thinking what to do. You don't need to do it, but I do think Kirkes is an upgrade until Gameweek 21 at least. Yeah, Veltman I'm sick of, to be fair, but we'll see. Sell Mikalenko. That was my original plan. But either way, I think I'll sell both of them. That's the thing. If I want to really bolster my defensive line, I think I'm just going to do that. Start Flecken or Fabianski. Fabianski has covered before. I'd start in Mbumo. I'd start Semenyo over Enzo. And from those, I'd start Semenyo. Who to captain? I'm going for Salah right now. They're all brilliant choices. So yeah, let's lock in this bloody team. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. But yeah, I'm just actually making sure, is fpl.team bugging out or are they actually correct? Could I do both of these moves whilst keeping 8 Nuri for now? So Kirkes and... yeah, I'm actually 0.1 off, so there might have been a price change overnight, actually, that has cost me both of those transfers. I see. I see. Right, so could I even do... yeah, I can still do Mikalenko to Colwell, fair enough. I can still do that. Doesn't look great, does it? It really doesn't, but... yeah, I'm just going to bring in Colwell. I fucking hate this defense, honestly. Just looking at it makes me disgusted. Yeah, but Colwell's coming in. Long-term fixtures, not a great asset himself. Not going to get many goals or assists or bonus points. But there we go. Veltman, Mikalenko. Ip, do the cat's got the... yeah, or maybe flip a coin. They're both terrible. I don't think Kwanzaa starts, but we might get some leaks in the next couple of minutes. We have gotten a few Liverpool, tidbits very recently. I'm thinking of starting Semenyo over Mbumo. Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't really blame you there. I'm just going for Mbumo. Start Rodgers or Mbumo. Mbumo. Sell Flecken, if you can, yes, and ideally not for a hit. Sells or Fabianski. Sells. I've got a pretty strong team and 1 free transfer. Only issues are Pope and McNeil bench. Should I roll or sell McNeil? Well, if you've got no backup goalkeeper, I would recommend selling Pope because he's not going to play for the next couple of weeks. He's got an injury, so that is the priority. Start Verbruggen or Flecken. Verbruggen. I'm going for Salah captain as covered before, so all of this has basically been covered to death. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it's time to lock things in. Unfortunately, with Mr. Veltman, it means I can't even buy Kirkes if I want to go in that direction. Or Joe Gomez. I'd have to settle for somebody like Lewis Hall, perhaps. So that is a bit gutting if I need to replace Veltman. But I might keep Veltman, I can't lie. Just for the short term. Let's see if he gets back into the side. It's a better option than Mikalenko for the next couple of weeks anyway. And I've got the second wildcard from Gameweek 20 onwards to really bolster things. But yeah, Mikalenko, double Gameweek or not. Veltman news, he's 50-50 according to Ursula. Dean would start, do you think? Yes, but it's not a guarantee. In recent weeks, we've seen more rotation between him and Matson. I didn't say Porro won't start, but there are rumours of Jed Spence starting flying around. It's confirmed that Gabriel starts. Thank God, otherwise I'm in the mud defensively. Start Davis or Van Heck? I'd start Van Heck. So, yeah. Let's go. Let us bloody go. I still want Veltman to somehow work out for me, but I'm being very naive with that. So, yeah. Lock in your teams, make sure everything is settled. We've got literally 2 minutes until the deadline. I'm having a look myself, by the way, to kind of verify the Arsenal news. But yeah, I haven't seen anything myself yet, but I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word somehow. All right, let's go. I'm going to go for Colwell. Colwell in for Mikalenko. Goodbye. That took a bit longer than I wanted. Veltman, I just don't think he starts. I'll be honest. I don't think he starts, but I might just take a little plunge on him. So yeah, Colwell there, second on my bench. I'm going to stick with the same 11 that I talked about before. The only real decision now is, do I just bench Veltman? Because I don't think he starts, but of course, if he does, decent chance for a clean sheet against Palace on paper. Start Collins or Greaves? I would go for Greaves here. Play Sells or Sanchez, have Colwell. I'd play Sells. There is news on Cunha being benched for Hwang. Oh, fucking hell. Are you serious? Jesus Christ. I've done it in Boomer to Saka, Garnacho to Enzo. Bought the biggest threat to my ranks. I'm happy. Yeah. Cunha benched. I wish I saw that earlier. Can't lie. Where's it coming from, though? Yeah, but Colwell is just there for my defensive depth. That's why. That's been covered already. What Veltman comes off the bench for 1 point? That was what I was thinking. I can't lie to you. Yeah, he's 50-50, but is he going to start over Lamptey? I mean, I'm just going to hope for the best there. Better start Semenyo. Oh, fuck's sake. It's not real. It's a Booner account. Yeah, that's why I'm being very skeptical about it, but I'm just going to start. Where is this Cunha thing coming from? I don't want to bench someone because of a Booner or whatever the fuck their names are. So, yeah. Why would Cunha be benched? I don't know. I'm just starting him. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. It's Booner pretending to be a Talking Wolves account. Mate. Yeah, that's why I was trying to be kind of composed with that Cunha thing. I don't want to bench Cunha, see him start against Ipswich, and then deliver a massive force. So, a few things that could backfire this week if we want to break down into the miseries, potential ones I'm going to get. Veltman coming on for a 1-pointer, that's likely, but I'm just going to play the chances. I think Colwell blanks anyway. He's a long-term investment in my team. He comes on if needed for a Veltman or Gabriel, but it does seem like the Brazilian does start for Arsenal today, and we'll find out very soon. I'll cover the Arsenal-Everton lineups in a little bit. So I saw Miklenko for Colwell, but yeah, that Veltman kind of starting him over Colwell could backfire slightly. And then, of course, people talking about Cunha being benched. If it's actually true, which I doubt, but if it is true, then yeah, that could backfire, not starting Semenyo over him. But it does seem like it was a fake account. Don't worry, you're good. That midfield will carry you anyway. Yeah, but it's a very template midfield, right? It's a good squad on paper if everyone's available and starts, but Veltman is the big risk there, of course. But there's a lot of problems with my team in the future. Aitnuri and Cunha are on the chopping block for me. Mbeumo is still sellable, in my opinion, and I don't have a Liverpool defender, which I've wanted for a long time. The last time I actually owned a Liverpool defender was back in Gameweek 7. Imagine that. So yeah, definitely a few issues here and there. But captaincy and Salah, as it has been all week, Palmer's my vice. I do think Saka, though, could even match or outscore them. I'm very bullish on Saka. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know him in UCL Fantasy, he does really well. I don't know him in FPL, he does really well. And when I do, it's kind of there. We'll see how it goes this season. So thank you to those that liked the stream. We did hit 200, so I appreciate it. Thank you to the super chatters, the members and patrons as well. You're all massively appreciated. And yeah, we covered all the super chats, so that's good. Sometimes it does bug out. So Liverpool lineup confirmed. Alisson, Trent, Gomez, Van Dijk, Robertson, Gravenberch, Jones, Salah, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Diaz. Thank you very much. Game is updating. Yes, it will take a while. Let's see what else people are saying. Semenyo will come on anyway if Cunha doesn't play. But Cunha wouldn't, be absent for the entire match. Surely he comes on for a 1-pointer if he were benched, which I don't think is the case. I think he does start. So yeah, thank you, Goldhead, for reassuring me there. Because everyone else, it seemed, were basically saying the opposite. So Collins to Colwell, Cunha to Isak, Bowen to ESR, Iwobi in Gameweek 18. What do you think? Yeah, good transfers. I can't lie, they're really well thought out. I think right now you'd probably favour Iwobi over Smith Rowe, but that could certainly change in a few weeks. Start Welbeck or Semenyo, I would have started Welbeck. Start free of Colwell, Dunk, Gomez and Hall, Sanchez and goal. I would have benched Colwell anyway because I think Brentford score. FPL challenge, says Bada. Yeah, I'll show you that very soon. Dylan Hood's captain between Saka, Salah, Palmer. I've said that all along. Salah has been my go-to. Palmer was ranked second, Saka third, Haaland fourth, Isak fifth. Decided to use 2 of my free transfers to sell Wissa and Collins to Isak and Kirkes. Don't own any Liverpool defenders. Thoughts, Dylan? I like the transfers in, and I think Isak is an upgrade on Wissa, but I do think one of Wissa and Mbeumo will do well today, or this weekend. I still think that. No, I didn't. I bought Colwell. Wait, I'm on the wrong one, aren't I? Oh, no, I'm not. Yeah, I bought Colwell for Mikalenko. Just to bench him, yeah, which might seem a bit stupid, but if Veltman does miss out entirely, I've got that decent backup option, so to speak, compared to Mikalenko or Van den Berg, and it's more of a long-term investment with Colwell. Great fixtures until Gameweek 23, so I'm quite happy with it. Yeah, sorry, so yeah, the music. I'll give you the exact song though. Actually, wait. I think this song isn't on YouTube. I'm not gonna lie, but I can give you the YouTube channel where yeah you can check out all the music which I do use for my videos. So let's see if I can find that. But yeah, that particular song was sent to me, and I don't think it's on YouTube. But yeah, check out this channel. There's a lot of good songs in there. If Cunha doesn't play, Casemiro will start for my team. Yeah, that's far from ideal. Watkins and Cunha are rumoured to be benched. I think the Cunha one is BS, to be honest. And I hope it is. Those Wolves news are fake, I'm hearing. Fake Twitter account masking Talking Wolves. I mean, look, it's a bit of fun and stuff, but it's fucking hell. I mean, the people who end up benching him, and if it turns out to be incorrect, I mean, they're going to be hounding them. Manager under huge pressure in a big winnable game benches his best player? I don't think so. That would reek of desperation if it actually happened. It sounded unbelievable to me to hear Cunha benched. I mean, he's been brilliant for them in recent weeks. I know there's a slight drop-off in the last 3 matches, but he also played a deeper role in the game against West Ham, which I'm not a big fan of. Is it worth Mbeumo and Nuri to Isak? Answer me. All right, calm down. Yes, it is worth it, but Nuri is more of a sell in Gameweek 18, and Mbeumo has a good record against Chelsea, so you don't have to. Watkins had an injury risk, so it's probably precautionary. Yeah, I think Watkins doesn't start anywhere. I said this throughout the entire stream. I think Duran gets the nod. Watkins was subbed off against Leipzig at half-time, and Duran came on and scored. So, in the world of Twitter, there are many trolls in the FPL sphere. I agree. That is true. What's your prediction on title race? Chelsea are back. I don't think Chelsea are in the title race, if I'm being honest. I think their fixtures are that good that they're going to remain in the conversation and, you know, in touching distance of Liverpool, but their defence isn't good enough to win the league. Their goalkeeper isn't good enough. And I also think that Arsenal and Liverpool are better. And if City get their act together, they're also better, but that's going to be a big if, considering their recent form. Chelsea will definitely finish top 4. I mean, there's no disputing that now, it seems, but if we also look in the future in terms of Chelsea competing next season, of course it's possible with the right investment, but I also think a major advantage that Chelsea have compared to City, Arsenal and Liverpool is the fact that they play their second team in the Conference League because they can, because the competition is so poor, and the others are still going strong in all competitions, and that big break for Chelsea is really coming in clutch. It's essentially like they're not having any European football at all. So I do think with Chelsea, they're playing some good football. Enzo Maresca's doing a great job. You've got to give him credit. But I also think the circumstances are there for them right now. And I do think they'll fall off a little bit towards the end and they'll probably finish third. That's my take on it. I could be wrong. They certainly can finish above Arsenal, but I don't see them finishing above Liverpool. No chance. Cunha benching? Yeah, I think it's fake, yeah. And I hope it is. Why so? The game always updates, mate. As soon as the deadline passes, they've got to update the points and make sure that everyone's teams are updated for the lineups for next week, basically. So it always happens. It's quicker than it used to be. Who's going to link up play if Cunha's benched? Jesus? I don't know. Callum Jr. says, did Flecken and Watkins to Isak and Sells? Hopefully Sells works for me. Keepers have been a disaster. Yeah, even for me. I mean, it's the lowest scoring position, so I'm not like that bothered by it. But I've got 3 clean sheets in the Premier League all season. 1 by Henderson, 2 by Raya. It's just terrible. So yeah, hopefully we get better luck in the future. And speaking of luck, good luck as well to Rye. Chelsea to challenge for the title need far better play from the goalkeeper. They aren't the best defence either. Yeah, I agree. I'm in complete agreement with that. They've got one of the best attacks, don't get me wrong. Palmer is brilliant. Jackson has been, not a revelation, but he's been improving, you know, week on week. And they've got depth in the winger positions, although I'd admit, compared to Liverpool and the other teams like City, maybe not as much quality in those wing positions. But yeah, they've got a lot of talent. Their midfielders gelling. Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo are finally performing somewhat to their price tag, but they still have a long way to go. So yeah, there's a lot to like about Chelsea, but I just think their goalkeeper and defence are a bit weak. And I bought Colwell because of the fixtures, pretty much. Is Maresca the new De Zerbi? I mean, interesting comparison. I do think they're slightly different. But look, De Zerbi got a lot of hype when he first joined Brighton, and then it kind of tailed off towards the end. But he plays some brilliant football. I do think De Zerbi's teams are more interesting to watch than Chelsea, but it's very early. You can't judge Chelsea fully just yet, in my opinion. Yes, I am an Arsenal fan. Yeah, unfortunately, for my sins. Adil says, what game, which game week would you say Arsenal can drop points in? Any given game week, mate. Arsenal are a bit unreliable this season, if I'm being honest. But, you know, maybe on the plus side for them, you know, if we look at the last campaign, it took them until January to go on that run and, you know, really deserve that Premier League title, or at least play to that sort of level where you could say if Arsenal went on to win it, they would have deserved it. But if we look at their fixtures now, so where can they drop points? I mean, I say Crystal Palace away. I think there could be a shock there. So that's game week 17. Game week 19 against Brentford, who've been brilliant at home. Brighton. So if we look at the next like 6 games, I think Arsenal could drop points in 2 or 3 of them. But to really be serious about the title, they need to win 4 or 5 of the next 6 at least and remain unbeaten. You know, otherwise, forget about it. Liverpool win the title easy. Slot is better than Klopp. No, that I'm sorry, but even if Slot wins the league with ease, that is, for me, BS. Complete BS. Klopp won everything for Liverpool. He also transformed the team and left those foundations for Arne Slot, who only signed Chiesa. There is no comparison between Slot and Klopp for me. No comparison. If Slot can win several Premier League titles or win the Champions League and all these trophies, then yeah, he can surpass Klopp. But right now, I think that's really premature. Cheers, mate. Best of luck this game week. Likewise, FPL Kevy. The Real Talking Wolves account just posted to point out that other account with Cunha news is fake. Thank you for that. And also to Goldhead for all the reassurance. I'm happy I started Cunha then. Is it okay to captain Palmer? Definitely. You know, Palmer, in terms of Stamford Bridge games in the Premier League, I think he's involved in 75% of Chelsea's goals. So it's a good punt. And Brentford are very poor defensively. Thank you very much, Kaio. I appreciate it. Easy99 says, as a Chelsea fan this year, not next year, maybe if Chelsea sign better defenders and goalkeeper. Look, never say never. And right now, Chelsea look the second or third most likely to win the Premier League. But yeah, I just think those positions need improvement. Also, did you win in the Cup last week? Yeah, from a bye, basically. So I didn't actually face anybody. Yeah, they called that fake account sad little loser at home. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Cunha's not benched as a non-owner. Wished it was true. Yeah, but to be honest, I think the time for Cunha is probably coming to a close anyway. Liverpool are going to slow down at some point. I agree. Their goals and assists are all coming from Salah to the tune of 70%. Yeah, and if anything happened to Salah, for example, his form dipping or getting an injury, I think Liverpool suffer greatly. But even with this drop-off that I'm expecting and that you also think of, I don't think it'll be to the extent of last season where they capitulate in April and May. I don't think that will happen, but it could be like spread out. And there is actually a period in late April this season where they face, I think, the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea, and they've got some tough games like back-to-back. They could drop some points there, and that could be really crucial in the title race. Is Gary O'Neill going to be sacked if Wolves lose today? I think so. One of the key reasons why they haven't made a change just yet is because they haven't got the right appointment just yet. They haven't found somebody. And that's not what you want to hear as a Wolves fan. But I think once they have someone lined up, they'll probably pull the trigger. Went for Gomez and Colwell finally and kept Bruno. If United can get anything out of a derby, it would be now, since every team seems to be getting the better of them with their depleted defence. Yeah, I know that you're very bullish on keeping Bruno, so hopefully that works out for you. And those two defenders are decent. Joe Gomez is more of a short-term punt, but whilst Konate is out, that works fairly well. And Colwell is a long-term investment. Foden always steps up against United. I think he'll score his first goal of the season. That's a nice prediction. If he starts, I think that's definitely on the cards. So that's a very good shout. Speaking of which, let me go through my predictions before going back to your questions. And I was asked about FPL Challenge, so I'll go to that very soon as well. So Arsenal versus Everton. I'm going to go for Arsenal 2, Everton 0. Yeah, Gabriel starts as well. Yeah, hopefully. 2-0 Arsenal. Liverpool, Fulham. Liverpool 3, Fulham 1. Newcastle, Leicester. Newcastle 2, Leicester. I'm tempted to give Leicester a draw, I can't lie, but I'm going to go for Leicester 1. So 2-1 win for Newcastle. Wolves versus Ipswich, very close as well. Probably another 2-1 here for Wolves. Forest versus Villa. You know me and Nottingham Forest, probably a 1-1 draw. Brighton versus Crystal Palace. Brighton are so iffy. They're very difficult to predict. Probably behind Spurs, the most difficult team to kind of guess this season. But I'm going to go for a Brighton win. Am I? Yeah. Probably another 2-1. Man City, Man United. Man City 4, Man United 2. Chelsea, Brentford, 2-2 draw. Southampton, Spurs. Southampton 1, Spurs 3. And then Bournemouth, West Ham. Bournemouth 3, West Ham 2. So a few high-scoring games towards the end. Maybe I'm on crack. I don't know. I'm not, by the way. But yeah, those are my predictions. Let me go to FPL Challenge very quickly. So I've gone for Raya, Borro, Robertson, Timber, Son, Palmer, Salah, Saka, Isak, Welbeck, and Strand Larsen. So this week, the challenge is called Bargains, and that means players costing under 6 million earn double points. So that's why I've gone for Timber over Gabriel. I've gone for Robertson instead of Trent Alexander-Arnold or Van Dijk. But yeah, that is what I've gone for. I need to remember to actually change my team, because when there's an injured player, I don't go to FPL Challenge and change it, to be honest. That happened last week with Gabriel. But yeah, I've got Son in there for now. Yeah, I think I'll probably stick with the vast majority of this. I could also go for Joao Pedro instead of Welbeck, but I want to cover the player I don't have in FPL. So if that makes any sense, I actually captain Palmer here or Saka. Might even be worth captaining one of these sub 6 million players for the double points. But yeah, I'll captain Palmer in FPL Challenge just to change things up a little bit. That is my team. And my predictions pretty much out of the way, but as always, I'm a bit conflicted about some of them. Keep on smashing the like button, subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support throughout the stream. And there could be another stream today, the reaction one. So it's either going to be tonight or on Sunday. I'll keep you posted. Aranya says both Everton and Fulham could trouble Arsenal and Liverpool, and I didn't want to put that much money in my defence. Hence, I spread the back line between Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal. Yeah, you're right. I personally think Liverpool win easily against Fulham, though. And Arsenal have a good record against Everton. But out of the two, I do admit Arsenal are more likely to slip up than Liverpool. But I think both of them win comfortably. Do you think Havertz is better than Jesus? Yes, definitely. Havertz has been poor recently, but in this calendar year, he's been one of the best strikers in the Premier League in terms of goals and assists. In the run-in, he really stepped up for Arsenal. And this season, there have been a lot of matches where he hasn't played in his actual position. He's been playing in the midfield, or, you know, Arsenal have kind of shifted their formation and tactics, and it just hasn't been good. Started Villain Saga. Yeah, it's a good show, I heard. I'm going to go to that very soon. Yeah, I would have started Verbruggen, no doubts about it, over Fleckham. I believe that Bournemouth and Fulham defence are outperforming Chelsea, Forest too. Yeah, I mean, with Chelsea, they're not a great defence, but the reason why I invested, for example, is Colwill, you know, great fixtures long term, kind of a set and forget. When Palmer captain Mazraoui to Howson, whose starting lineup have home games, so it's looking decent in theory. Yes, in theory. You don't have many 6 millions or under? No, I don't, but I'm quite happy with what I've gone for. I was thinking about Brighton 1-1. I can't lie. I was thinking about that. The predictions on the Manchester derby are interesting. Yeah, look, and United could cause an upset, but I think it'll be high scoring. Low-key, back Southampton for a W, classic Spurs a draw, or at least 1-0, 1-1 type affair. I think Spurs get the win, though. They're kind of due a victory, right? I don't see a drop-off, guys, unless they get mass injuries. They look like the best team in the world. Yeah, they do right now, but things change very quickly. Gabriel starts. Well, yeah, he should, right? Bloody hell, he should. Oh, yeah, you sold him for Timber. Yeah. But look, he might be subbed off early. Who knows? Let's go through the lineups now for Arsenal and Everton. So I'm going to bring them up very shortly. So yeah, we have confirmed news. Oh, interesting. Okay, some very, very interesting news here. Where's Everton's page? There we go. And let's go to Arsenal. All right. So, I think Arsenal fans will be happy with this lineup. So, Raya will start in goal. Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Lewis Skelly, who had a great performance against Monaco in midweek. Rice, Marino, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Havertz. I have to say, of course, there's always the outcome bias and stuff like that, but I'm actually quite happy with this team. Marino and Martinelli link up quite well on the left. I think that can sort out some problems with, you know, the kind of imbalance with Arsenal. Most of their attacks on the right-hand side. Timber's playing on the right, which I really like. Lewis Skelly getting another chance. Gabriel's back. Yeah, I really like this lineup, I can't lie. Everton could still cause an upset, but that is a good team selection by Arteta. I think you could have picked out holes in the Fulham team on Sunday. I think Arsenal maybe made a few mistakes there, but I think this time round it's a very, very good team selected, and hopefully we see that moving forwards. And of course, when Califer is back, you might see him instead of Lewis Skelly and stuff. But yeah, looks pretty solid there for the Gunners. Let's also go to Everton's team, because they still have some interesting FPL assets, mainly for the double game week, which could be in game week 24 or 25. And I think they're now sellable with their upcoming fixtures. But Pickford in goal, Young, Tarkovsky, Branthwaite, Mikolenko, Harrison, Mangala, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Indai, Doucouré, and Calvert-Lewin. So kind of what you'd expect from Everton, who have had a rest. They didn't play in game week 15, with the Merseyside derby being postponed, and no European football. So a big advantage in terms of energy levels, and that could be one of the reasons why they get a result here. But yeah, both teams have gone strong, and yeah, I'm quite happy with both lineups actually. Pretty solid. Let's see if we can cover any other lineups. I mean, yeah, we've got 3 other matches to cover. Oh yeah, Wolves. Does Cunha bloody start? He probably does, doesn't he? I think that's the one we want to go to. Dwight McNeil's not in the Everton squad, by the way, so I did actually forget that. That is a big blow for Everton, but apart from that, I think they're looking quite solid. Yeah, for those that maybe bench Cunha, sorry to disappoint you lads, but you got trolled because he does start. This is the Wolves lineup. Johnston in goal, Doughty, Semedo, Bueno, Dotti, Aït-Nouri, Andre, Lemina, Bellegarde, Cunha, and Strand Larsen. So let's also go to... Wait, what? I'm a stupid idiot, aren't I? This is the... Oh, right. Okay, sorry. They made a mistake, because let's actually look. It says here, West Ham Wolves. They're stuck on Monday. But I just saw the emoji here, or the club badge. This is the lineup today, as we can also verify here. 14th of December, 1:45 p.m. They made a mistake with their tweet, but that's fine. No worries, no worries. That almost got me sent. Let's go to Ipswich lineup as well. So that will be of less interest. Still, we'll cover all the lineups now. We might as well go through your questions, react to things as they come along. So let's go to Ipswich's team 2. So Muric, Clark, O'Shea, Burgess, Davis, Morsey, Gahuste, Burns, Chaplin, Hutchinson, and Delap. So yeah, pretty standard stuff, right? Right. So the other lineups to... Yeah, Liverpool. Let's go for Liverpool's lineup. And Fulham, of course. Let's see what Liverpool or Fulham can come up with. I don't really expect them to do anything. So, let's go to Liverpool. So, Alisson is back in goal. Voice crack. Bloody hell. Joe Gomez, Van Dijk, Diaz, Szoboszlai, Salah, Jones, Gakpo, Robertson, Gravenberch, and Trent. So, no real surprises there. Yeah, Darwin's on the bench, which I think was talked about. So yeah, he's on the bench with Endo, Chiesa, Elliott, Jota, Quansah, Morton, and Nyonyi. So yeah, Jota and Chiesa, yeah, they're back. The Jota one's the big news there. He's definitely one to look at for the Christmas period. If you can get a run of starts there, I think that's definitely worth investment. Let's also check Fulham very quickly. But yeah, it's looking pretty good overall. So kind of what absentees are we talking about? Dwight McNeil for Everton. So this will be the Fulham lineup as well. Just going to close some tabs here. Apologies, lads. Yeah, I've got so many tabs open, I can't actually do it. Yeah, let's just do that. That should be fine. All right, so Fulham have gone for Leno, Tete, Diop, Cuenca, Robinson, Sandenberg, Lukic, Wilson, Pereira, Iwobi, and Jimenez. No Smith Rowe. He's on the bench. And they have done this before at the Etihad, so it seems like when they face these big teams away from home, they sometimes do drop Emil Smith Rowe. So a bit concerning for those that went there, or that still have Emil Smith Rowe. But Yeah, that's the only real shock there from Fulham, I guess, but we have seen it before. And finally, let's cover the other 3 p.m. kickoff, which is Newcastle. Newcastle versus Leicester. So let's go through their team as well. Okay, so I've got... That's good. Let's go to Newcastle. All right, so... finally, the final squad anyway, final teams. So with Newcastle, they've gone for Dubravka in goal, Fabian Schär, Joe Linton, Tonali, Gordon, Isak, Hall, Livramento, Murphy, Byrne, and Bruno Guimaraes, who is heavily linked with a move to Man City in January. As for Leicester City, they have gone for the following: Hermansen, Justin, Cody, Vestergaard, Christensen, Chowdhury, Skip, Elkanous, Mavididi, McAtee, and the old fox in the box, Jamie Vardy. So Buonanotte is on the bench, the same with De Cordova-Reid. But yeah, interesting lineups here across the 3 p.m. kickoffs. Let me know what you think. I'm sure there's a lot of comments about it. Mario says Arsenal 3-1, sorry, 3-0, Liverpool 3-1. Yeah, all the lineups are out and covered, so let me know what you think. How much impact does Jota have on the Liverpool play? Straight back into the striker position. I think over time, yeah, he'll become the main striker again. In terms of how it affects the play, I mean, Darwin is a completely different striker, right? I mean, they both have excellent movement, but Darwin is quicker, and I think he loves to just get in behind a lot more often. But I just think with Jota in the box, he's more of a presence. He's a better finisher as well. But yeah, in the air, Jota's quite decent for his height, actually. I don't think it changes much in terms of how Liverpool play, but it does ease the burden off Salah in terms of scoring the bulk of the goals. So that could really help when Salah's form does drop, and it will happen eventually. Not really. I'm not excited about the mystery chip. I'm curious. I'm going to give it a chance. I do think normally when a big change happens, it's normally met with a lot of criticism or skepticism, but I'll give it a chance. I'm not completely sure about it. Brilliant lineups. Yeah, FPL-wise, looks good for most of us, unless you bench Cunha. K-Man says it says one change. Cunha to Isak next week. Yeah, it's on the cards. If not, Gameweek 18. And of course, by that time, Isak will play Man United and Villa, but those are still good fixtures. Yeah, Timber playing. He's been crucial to Arsenal this season. He's probably playing more than Arteta would have wanted. With all the injuries elsewhere to Tomiyasu, Ben White, Calafiori. I would have played Hall this week, Emmanuel, but remember, the deadline has passed. Does Lewis Skelly get 60 minutes? Might have to pop him in the FPL Challenge team. Yeah, I think he gets 60, yeah. It's a risk, though. There is a chance he gets subbed off before, especially if Everton, you know, are level, or if they're actually ahead by that stage, and Arsenal go for some tactical tweaks. How about no-sing? How about a Cuenca header? Boom. No, it's not happening. Gonna get Gabriel Aït-Nouri. Oh, you're gonna get Gabriel again. Don't buy Aït-Nouri. Oh, sorry. For Aït-Nouri. Sorry, my head's gone. Yeah. Good transfer. Nice. No problems with that. Even against Leicester, I think they score against Wolves in Gameweek 17, so fine. So yeah, all the lineups out there. Thank you, Twister Parky. My opponent's team, Fabianski, Fast, Gavardio, Tarkovsky, Bruno, Saka, Mbumo, Palmer, Haaland, Wood, Wissa. That's before the deadline. Yeah, you'll find out very soon. Within the next 20 minutes or so. Yeah, no Greaves again. That's what I mean. There is this policy that McKenna has. He doesn't like to have centre-backs on the bench. Let's actually go to Ipswich's lineup again. So here we go. So on the bench is Walton, Johnson, Wolfenden, Townsend, Phillips, Taylor, Broadhead, Clark, and Al-Hamadi. Sorry. Yeah, but only Wolfenden on the bench. Normally, he actually has no centre-backs, and it makes no sense for me. I don't know why he'd do that. But yeah, with Greaves, it's a very weird situation. I can't lie. What else do we have? Good thing Gabriel starts, honestly. Bit confused on why people sold him. It's probably because he's missed the last couple of games. He cost too much money to have that kind of yellow flag permanently. And he was a doubt going into this game anyway. He was kind of touch and go. Late fitness test. Who's your captain? Salah. Let's go back to my team and forget the lineups. We've covered them all to death. So the big news is Jota's back on the bench for Liverpool. Gabriel starts. Alisson also starts for Liverpool. Greaves isn't in the squad. McNeil misses out for Everton. Those are kind of the biggest pieces of news. Emil Smith-Rowe benched against Liverpool too. That's pretty much it. Everything else is what you'd expect. Dubravka starts in Nick Pope's absence as well, if you want to go for a budget goalkeeper over this Christmas period. So yeah, I have Gordon and Isak expecting a juicy green arrow. It's a great fixture for them, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of Gordon this season, though. I'm not going to lie. What about Semenyo or Damsgaard in FPL Challenge this week? Probably Semenyo, but Damsgaard has been decent in recent weeks, and Chelsea just struggle against Brentford historically, but I do think Chelsea score a few goals here, and they might even win. 8 Nuri replacements, 4.7 million or less. Colwill, Perkez, still the same names as before. Lewis Hall. Wolf Gamer 725 says, also, this is my first time playing. I've gone from 6 million to 2.7 million. That's a great rank rise. And yeah, for your first time playing, the most important thing is just getting used to it, having some fun, and yeah, just don't follow the crowd. You know, go your own path, find what works for you or not in terms of approaches, your kind of go-to captains as well, and your kind of favorite team structure. Do you go for a 3-5-2 most weeks? Do you go for a 3-4-3? Maybe play 4 at the back. So use this season to experiment, find what you like, but that's a great rank rise. I did Dallo to Hall for free. Yeah, I think Lewis Hall looks good for the next 2 on paper, but yeah, I do think Leicester score, I'm not going to lie. Jota's a tougher accommodation than Gakpo in FPL. Yes, because in the midfield, well, actually, you know what? I'm not going to lie. Normally the midfield is stacked in FPL. I'd actually be very tempted by Jota and double up on Liverpool in that position. So we could actually find ourselves next week or the week after by Christmas/Boxing Day going for a midfield 4 of Salah, Saka, Palmer and Jota. I really think that. Feels like this is the first time there have been leaks happened a lot more than last season. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, today we've got a lot of leaks. I think the late kickoffs really help with that because we have a lot of 3 p.m. Games. But unfortunately, you've got the trolls who try to say that Cunha's benched and stuff. Harrison James says all home fixtures for the starting 11, so knowing Sod's Law, red arrow inbound. Hopefully not. When do you set realistic end of season targets? I honestly, look, I just have a set target from the beginning of the season. And of course, it could change by a certain stage of the campaign. But it's not like I say, oh, by New Year, you know, I'm going to have like an updated version. I don't really think of it that way because a lot can happen over the next couple of weeks. But this Christmas period is crucial, I'm not going to lie. It could make or break some people's seasons. But I would just want to better what I did last season. I still can do that. It was my worst ever rank last time out, but still not terrible. But I want to improve, and nothing's changed really. Gabriel, yes, he's starting. And I've been saying that for the last couple of days. It was less clear-cut in my team selection video, but the reports yesterday were quite positive. So yeah, I'm quite glad that I ended up keeping him. This is my first season after Gameweek 3. I was 20k in the world. I had a small red arrow to 50k in Gameweek 6 and 7, but after that I started to fall, and I'm now on 900k. Yeah, look, you had a brilliant start. I mean, that's the dream when you first play this game. But it just goes to show that the margins between ranks are so tight, especially at the beginning of the season. So you can, you know, go all the way up and then just fall down so quickly. But it's still a good rank to be at for your first season. Going different captains should not be so punishing, man. Went Saka before 2 weeks, Watkins last week. Before seeing the results, they were good choices. They were good choices. And I also can relate to what you said because over the last couple of years, I've sometimes done that where I kind of go from one captain to the other and I miss everyone's points. And I've done that recently with my transfers. So in the last 2, I captained Palmer against Southampton. A bit disappointing, but I just kept it on him against Tottenham. And he just got me a massive return and helped me get a green arrow. So sometimes sticking with the same captain does pay off, especially when it's a reliable one like Salah, Palmer, Saka, and in the past, Erling Haaland. So Twister Parky says Arsenal and Liverpool to win 3-0. Newcastle 2, Leicester 1. So we've gone for something similar there. Wolves 1, Ipswich 2. Forest 2, Villa 1. In Boomer to Jota, for most people, believe I'm going to Diallo to invest in defence, even though I'm telling myself premium defence is not the way. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think that's actually what I'm looking at. You've kind of summed it up. So over the next few weeks, in Boomer to Jota, or using those funds to either go for Isak up front, / Trent, or a Liverpool defender at the back, that will be the play and a big decision to make for my FPL team. But at the moment, I lean towards a Trent / Van Dijk. That would be my preference. I'm just not a big fan of the budget midfielders. I don't think there's a standout. You might just settle for Rodgers again. If I could do Mbeumo to Johnson and then buy Trent, that's perfect. I just don't have the funds to do that without downgrading Jackson or somebody else. So, interesting times ahead, that's for sure. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. It's been a pleasure talking to you for the past 3 hours. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Our aim is to get this to as many likes as possible. Thank you to those that helped us get to over 200. And we're also pushing towards new goals like 31,000 subscribers. We did hit 30k very recently. And across all social media platforms, we're looking to build. So on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM. You can find me very easily, or just type in FPL Dylan. Very easy to find on Twitter especially. And check out the Discord server. Be sure to join it. You're always updated there, and we can help each other out with our conundrums, not just in FPL, but also in UCL Fantasy, FPL Challenge, you name it. We also cover World Cup and Euro Fantasy on this channel. Also, be sure to check out my Spotify, leave a 5-star review if you've got the time and want to listen to my content in audio format. It goes a long way to supporting my content. And if you want to support the channel even further, it's patreon.com/DylanRCM, and you can click the join button on YouTube to gain early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. Yeah, I can't lie, I need a water break. I need a bloody water break. But I'm going to head off very soon, and I'll answer a few more questions and comments before wrapping up. And there could be a reaction stream tonight. Keep your eyes peeled. If not, it will be tomorrow. I'll try to keep you updated as soon as possible, but today has been a massive blast, as it pretty much always is. Easy99 says, I saw a lot of FPL managers frustrated about the mystery chip. Yeah, I think people also are adverse to change, so that's why I'm willing to give it a go. A bit like the Champions League format this season, and now a lot of people like it. But on the face of it, if I had to lean one way or the other and not sit on the fence, I am slightly apprehensive about it. I do think it seems way too overpowered. Singh says, Trent corner, Van Dijk bullet header, deflected into the goal. Gomez, Liverpool win 1-0. No. Brighton 2, Palace 1, I hope. That's what I went for. But I could see a 1-1 in that game, I'm not going to lie. Brighton are such a weird team. They could beat Arsenal in a couple of weeks, but then draw to Palace and lose to, I don't know, Ipswich Town. Mikkel says, I've gone from 4.3 million and now in place 1.1 million, and my climb began when I kicked out Haaland. Yeah. Look, Haaland's a good FPL asset still, but after the first 5 gameweeks of the season when he looked unstoppable, he just hasn't been worth the money. And I found myself in a similar position. I sold him a few weeks ago, and I've been going up in rank, even when it seems like I haven't had a great week. I might have had a 7 blanks out of 11, but I got the right captain in Palmer, or I kept in Mbeumo for 13 points, and those sort of things have really helped me. I've got a more balanced team, and I don't rely on one player, so that's probably the main reason why you've done so well. Does Jota potentially give Salah an early sub today? That's a good question. Jota mainly comes on for the striker, though, and he can play anywhere across the front line, but that is definitely a possibility. I just think it's more likely we'll see a striker change rather than Salah. I still don't like the Champions League change. Fair enough. What I like about it is that teams like Man City are in real jeopardy of being knocked out, and if it was the normal format, City would have been comfortable, even with their current form. Callum Jr. says, only problem for me is that I already have Rodgers, both him and Diallo might be risky. Also see it in the next reaction stream. Yes, that will be very soon, either today or tomorrow as discussed before. And I get your conundrums with the budget midfielders. I'm not a big fan of pretty much all of them. Rodgers is still my favourite actually, even though he's been a bit hit or miss recently. So it goes to show you, FPL, interesting times ahead. The best replacement for Mbeumo might just be a defender actually, with Trent, or going for Isak/Jackson up front. So yeah, everybody, it's been a pleasure talking to you for the last couple of hours. If you've got any more questions or comments, leave them in the comment section, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram and message me there. You can also join the Discord server as mentioned before, and just check out everything that is there. That includes Drafthound. There is a link in the description below, and it's a great resource I've been using for over a year. Take care, enjoy the football. I'll see you for the reaction stream very soon, and UCL Fantasy might have come to a close in this calendar year, but there'll be more content in January, so keep your eyes peeled for that by subscribing to the channel, smashing the like button, and all that good stuff. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you very soon.